bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Jesus, I say that.
Close it up, just like my wife's vagina.
Aren't I a good guy? Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century. There's no point in you betraying your future self to gratify your present self. It's a stupid game.
China? China. China. I have to have my China.
Close it up, just like my wife's vagina.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Close it up, just like my wife's vagina.
Illegal. Illegal.
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't be creepy.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
in the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay?
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
People from China, they love me.
Facebook, Zuckerbucks, Zuckerbucks.
Jesus, I said,
It's science. It's science.
Well, it's fantastic to see all of you folks. Hold on. That's better. Okay, try that again. Fantastic to see all of you folks here today. Got a tremendous amount of stuff to get through, so who knows if I'll be getting any sleep at all tonight. That said, let's take a little journey into the abyss. Okay. Oh, that's right. Just for funsies, 'cause fuck it.
My planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low. Rolling over the sands, you can see spice in the air. At nightfall, the spice harvesters land. The outsiders race against time to avoid the heat of the day. They ravage our lands in front of our eyes. Their cruelty to my people is all I've known. These outsiders, the Harkonnens, came long before I was born. By controlling spice production, they became obscenely rich. Richer than the Emperor himself. Our warriors couldn't free Arrakis from the Harkonnens. But one day, by Imperial decree, they were gone. Why did the Emperor choose this path? And who will our next oppressors be?
Okay, that was just for funsies. Get us started here today. Get our brains juicing. How are we watching this? Magic. Magic. Just magic. Whoopsies. That is not what I meant to do. I've done that multiple times recently. Deleted the whole spaceship. Okay, well, honestly. Watching Dune gets me going over here. I'm definitely gonna have to delete that, or I'm gonna get copyright struck. No big deal. You can always edit these videos after the fact. It'll be fine. Okay, what are we doing now? Now we're doing serious stuff. Going straight into it now. Let's start in America. And somehow I am lacking any gun violence videos today. So, good thing, I guess. Is that good? Yeah, I think it's good. Technically good.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
First one we're gonna look at is MSNBC video from 6 hours ago, entitled "Voters in Oklahoma Town to Decide Whether or Not to Oust White Nationalist from City Council."
City Council. Judd Blevins was elected last.
Go back.
A few weeks ago, we told you about a recall election in Enid, Oklahoma, where a group of the town's residents are trying to get a white supremacist off its city council. Judd Blevins was elected last year, but after revelations surfaced, he took part in the march on Charlottesville, where men holding tiki torches chanted, "Jews will not..."
Oh, that's not Dune 2. That was it's like the most, it was the older of, it was whatever, was it 2019? When did that one come out? I think it was before that, actually. Fucking hell. But no, it's not the new Dune. It's not the new Dune. So no, it wasn't that magical. It was only mildly magical. Anyways, let's listen to why Oklahoma voters are struggling to oust a white supremacist from city council.
Place us. The town is getting a chance to reconsider. Joining us now from Enid, Oklahoma, NBC News senior reporter Brandy Zadrozny. So, Brandy, you've been reporting on this. You've been reporting on...
What in the fuck? Hold on. What just happened? I don't appreciate you at all. What are you doing? Hold on, chat. Is it 2019? That sounds right. 2017? Oh my god. Ah, boy. How old am I again? Okay, what is the problem here, and why don't you want to play this video for me right now?
On how the women who were leading this charge have had to meet in secret, how there are real threats to their safety. What's happening today, and what are the expectations of the town?
Yeah, hi, Katie. We are in front of a polling place right now. We've been watching people go in and out all day, and they are deciding whether or not they should remove Judd Blevins. What we're seeing is a mix. We are seeing some people who support Judd Blevins, who say he made a mistake, he deserves a second chance, he's been a pretty good city councilman. But I would say the prevailing wisdom here is that people are telling us they didn't know, or they didn't know the full extent of his organizing with white nationalists before he was voted in. And a lot of people are saying that they never voted before, or that they didn't vote in the last election that seated Judd.
That's the problem. He's too much of a white nationalist, you know? We would have accepted, 35%, but 90%? Oh, no.
But they are coming out to send a strong message now that he does not belong in office.
So you try to get answers from Blevins on his support of white nationalism, on the march in Charlottesville. Were you ever able to get any answers from him?
So I tried to talk to him after a city council meeting last month. That did not go so well, but I actually did run into him today. He was holding a sign on the side of the road and had a little off-camera chat with him. He said that he is willing to respect the voters' wishes, that he trusts them and thinks he will be elected again, but that he's willing to step aside and not run again should he lose today. He was at a forum last week where he told residents of Enid that he did march in Charlottesville. He admitted it.
Oh my god. Mo and Noah just ratted on everybody just now. Free Jessica Fletcher. That's crazy. That's crazy. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Do you have 20 at least? I'm gonna let Cisco fly, because I feel like you're definitely gonna get 2 more likes, and I don't feel like taking him down. Just remember to like it. You know, that's the key.
Said that he would do it again, that he went to defend history. He also talked a lot about white grievance, how...
I'm sorry, I gotta reset. I forgot about this part. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
In Charlottesville, he admitted it and said that he would do it again, that he went
He would do it
to
again. He'd do it again, folks.
Get rid of the Second Amendment?
Dude is a freaking idiot. Like, I don't see how this guy can possibly be in any sort of important office. Granted, it's a city council. It might not be the most important position you could possibly attain. Arguably one of the lower ones, but that, I don't think... you get what I'm saying here, right, chat? This guy is not only having admitted to going to the Unite the Right rally, he said he would do it again because he wants to defend history. Wow. Probably one of the moments in history you wouldn't want to defend, but hey, you know.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Defend history. He also talked a lot about white grievance, how he said there was anti-white hatred in the media and entertainment. So that's how he's defended his position. He also did say that he is against any form of racism.
What about the women who started this campaign? The two, I believe their grandmothers. You were able.
Okay. Moving us forward, because I've got literally like 50 different things I wanted to look at. There's no way I'm doing it. How am I going to do all this today? Why must there be so many things happening all the time? Okay, let's look at this next video. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. This is from 6 hours ago, also from MSNBC. Trump gets bailed out by a billionaire fan. Posts a $175 million bond in New York civil fraud case. So, I know we were talking about this, I think, yesterday or a couple of days ago when he posted the bond. As it turns out, he received the bond from... Well, let's talk about it a little bit, and then I'll get into it. Definitely, the dude who got the money from is definitely not shady at all.
Donald Trump's narrow escape from financial calamity is raising a few eyebrows today. The ex-president was thrown a lifeline last week when an appeals court reduced the bond in his civil fraud case to just $175 million. He posted that bond late last night, sparing him from having his assets seized while he appeals the larger $454 million penalty. And what we're learning about just who came to the rescue. It was a company run by a billionaire supporter of Donald Trump's. According to Bloomberg, billionaire Don Hankey, who is the chairman of Knight Specialty Insurance, said this, quote, Knight reached out to Trump's team to offer its services after hearing about the former president's trouble arranging a bond. Despite his history of support for the ex-president, Hankey telling Bloomberg this, quote, yes, I voted for him in the past, but this is a business deal, and this is what we do.
Okay, so what's interesting is that it seems like MSNBC didn't quite do their research, which is shocking to me.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
And so I did a little research, found out that Knight Insurance Group that they're claiming is what he runs actually happens to be a subsidiary of a much larger company called the Hankey Group, which was started in 1958 by the Hankey family. And is basically a financing company, an insurance sort of company that deals mostly in insurance loans, a lot of subprime loans, very high interest rate, sort of vulture-like behavior. But this guy, Don Hankey, essentially inherited this massive multi-billion-dollar private fortune. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. That's how creepy, honestly, for somebody with multiple billions of dollars and running like 10 companies, when you don't have a Wikipedia page, I have questions. But yeah, it's all apparently private private money. They basically seem like corporatized loan sharks to me. So yeah, that's who Donald Trump has received his money from recently.
Never met Donald Trump or talked to him on the phone. We're back with Melissa, Michael, Basil, and Molly. Melissa, there are geopolitical national security.
I love how they've gotten real-life Muppet Michael Steele to come on.
Concerns and questions. Pete Stark wrote a whole book on it about where a president's money comes from, particularly when the sources are foreign. And there's nothing illegal about this, but where is there sort of an ethics question when, as Donald Trump tells us all the time, he's running for president?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of shades of the civil fraud trial and Gates, a lot of the shades of the questions that have arisen over the years about Donald Trump's finances more generally. When Knight Insurance stepped in to offer this bond, it did so after many, many other bond companies refused to do so because the president, or the former president, wasn't a good risk.
Oh, real quick, let me just show you this graphic here. Where, hold on, let me just switch screens, do this now here. These just for visualization, these here are the companies run by the Hankey Group. Westlake Financial, Midway Auto Group, Hankey Investment Company, HFC Acceptance LLC, North Hollywood Toyota, Knight Insurance Group, which is the subsidiary that's given the loan to Donald Trump, Hankey Capital, Nowcom Driving Technology. So it's this massive sort of conglomeration of private capital. Okay, now back to MSNBC for a moment.
A lot of his assets are not liquid. He didn't have the cash reserves to be able to put up the collateral for a bond. You actually have to put up more than the bond is actually worth in order to get it. And so I think there are big questions about what Mr. Hankey did in order to allow Knight Insurance to go forward with this. There's some mix of cash and other assets.
I think, I'm not sure. Actually, maybe that is what she means. Never mind.
Used to secure the bond. I think we should know where the cash came from. Is it Donald Trump's cash? Is it cash from some other source? Those are all questions that sort of go to that broader question of who is funding him, who is now beholden to him, who is he beholden to? And all of that, I think, is critically important as a matter of transparency going into the election.
Michael.
Okay, we're going to skip Michael Steele entirely, move on to this next video. Don't need to hear from Republican Muppet Michael Steele at any time. Ever. There's literally no reason. That's just my opinion. He's just a complete idiot who comes on to, you know, tell people what they want to hear. Since his success in politics was a little lacking, and by lacking I mean complete dog shit. Let's see. This next video from CNN is from 9 hours ago. Trump's net worth drops more than $1 billion in one day.
Happening now, seconds ago, the stock market's open, and what you're looking at right there, a live look at Donald Trump's social media company, Trump Media, down nearly 3% so far in trading today. The market's open literally 40 seconds ago. This after he lost almost 20% yesterday, $1 billion on paper yesterday, plus a little so far today. Matt Egan is here with me to watch this and explain what happened yesterday.
By the way, 20% in a day, if you're not super familiar with the movements of the stock market, it's a lot. It's a great deal, especially when you're talking about billions of dollars.
Why did it drop so much?
Well, John, today looks more like a dip than a dive, but anything can happen with this stock. It is subject to wild moves. Okay.
Just wanted to gloat about Donald Trump continuing to run into problems with funding over there. It is a shame, isn't it, Aaron? Yeah, I agree. It just makes me so sad for Donald. I'm just like, oh, I've been too mean. I've been too mean.
Don't be creepy.
That's fair. Okay, what's next? Okay. Now, quickly touching down onto some healthcare and technology and business-related stuff in America. Let's start with the healthcare. Santa Clara County nurses launch 3-day strike. This is from NBC Bay Area.
Picket lines are long and loud outside Santa Clara County's 3 public hospitals. This is the first of a 3-day nurses' strike at the hospitals and nearly a dozen clinics.
NBC Bay Area's Emma Goss tells us from Valley Medical Center that teachers say it's not just about the money, it's also about safety.
There are a lot of nurses out here on strike today. They say mainly over working conditions. Meanwhile, the county is doing what it can to keep hospitals and clinics up and running over these next couple days.
When I say nurses, you say contract nurses. Contract nurses. Contract.
Alan Kamara has been an ER nurse at Valley Medical Center for almost 16 years. Now he's joined the picket lines. He said since the pandemic, patients have shorter fuses, and they take out their frustrations on him and other nurses verbally and sometimes physically.
I've been assaulted multiple times, all the time.
Even though the county and nurses union already reached a tentative agreement to address safety and workplace violence weeks ago, he sees chronic understaffing as an underlying issue.
Because if you have over 40 people sitting in the lobby in the emergency room, they get frustrated because they've been waiting for hours on end. You can reasonably see why some might be agitated.
The county and nurses union are also said to be at an impasse over wage increases and staffing distribution, but do agree on one thing. The $20 million the county spent to pay for fill-in nursing staff this week could have gone to better use.
Unfortunately, we've now had to take money and put it towards this essential coverage. And that's money that we then don't have as a system.
They had only, put that towards us. We may have been able to prevent all of this.
Are you going to go back to the bargaining table?
We are hoping to be able to go back to the bargaining table, but if they're going to continue to not do the right thing and just waste time, there's no sense in negotiating with them if we're just going to go around in circles.
The strike will be...
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's not a permanent strike. I believe it's just meant as a message to legislators as well as management on how that money should have been utilized. I think we can trust these people on their words, or at least their judgment on the situation, considering they are all on the front lines. Okay, what is next? Okay, this is actually not as concerning as it sounds. We're actually watching this one to remind everyone that so far, it's not a problem. This is from 2 hours ago. U.S. bird flu outbreak. Texas resident contracts virus from cattle. Yes, I know it sounds bad. I know.
U.S. health officials say a person in Texas has contracted bird flu after being in contact with cows. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the person, likely a farm worker, is recuperating. The spread to farm animals and now humans has farmers worried.
As soon as I heard that it was crossing into cows, into dairy cows, it's like, oh boy, that's my industry, and I know there's going to be some fallout probably from that.
It's the second case of a human testing positive for the virus since the disease surprised health researchers by moving from birds to cows and goats in Texas, Kansas, and other U.S. states. In a statement, the CDC says the patient reported eye redness consistent with conjunctivitis as their only symptom and is recovering. The patient has been told to isolate and is being treated with an antiviral flu drug. So far, bird flu has not proved deadly to cows, at this stage sparing farmers the need to euthanize sick animals.
Just because it's the same virus that we're seeing in our poultry and our bird populations is that it is a different response. At this point in time, there will be no call for any kind of a quarantines or any kind of a depopulation in our ruminant and our cattle populations.
Okay, so hopefully that at least assuages any potential concerns you may have when stories about this potentially come out. Who knows who's gonna fearmonger about it, but for now, not to be concerned. Wow. COVID-19? Is it Crovid or Calvid? Crovid? Crowvid? Either way, that gets one of these. That didn't sound right. Okay. What's next? Oh. Now this is some unfortunate and frustrating news. This is from MSNBC from 6 hours ago, entitled Run to Another State. Carolyn Kitchener shares reactions to Florida's new abortion ruling.
Joining us now, Washington Post national reporter covering abortion, Caroline Kitchener, and NBC News senior politics reporter, Matt Dixon. So you guys have both done a lot of reporting on what's happening down in Florida. Matt, I'm going to start with you. This ruling, talk to me about the political underpinnings of it.
Yeah, it's a huge win for Democrats here in Florida who haven't had a win in, gosh, a decade or more. The Biden campaign released a memo yesterday, first given to NBC News, that sort of said they're going to build their Florida strategy around the issue of abortion and really tying it to yesterday's two-part rulings. And so Democrats are really hoping this is going to sort of put Florida as a battleground state again. It hasn't been in a little while, probably a couple election cycles. It's yet to see how that's going to play out because Florida has gone very, very red. But Democrats, for the first time in a while, seem to really think they have some momentum. And this has been an issue that's been very good for them in the past when it's been on the ballot.
Talk to me about the memo that's circulating within the Biden campaign about how to go about this.
Yeah, I mean, the Biden campaign has really stressed that they're using the restrictive 6-week stuff to really talk about how important it's going to be in November when it's on the ballot. If it passes, it needs 60% to pass, so it's a pretty high bar. But they're going to use both prongs of this to sort of both motivate from an organizing perspective and get Florida really kind of back on the map nationally. The state has really fallen off the national radar, going back to maybe.
I'm trying to focus on this story, but y'all are being too funny about this previous one. I don't think bats can have relations with cows. That's my understanding. At least not, I think, the relations that you're referring to. So you have to go to Al Jazeera for domestic news. How far we fall? We've fallen very far in response to that question, Chris. But hey, maybe they're just trying to be measured in their response to the situation. Who's to say?
2016 when President Trump first won the state. So I think the effort is to sort of amplify and lift Florida up again. Now we'll see if the money follows because it hasn't been here recently.
All right, let's play a little bit of the reaction from Florida. Let's start, Caroline, with some women reacting to this Florida State Supreme Court ruling.
I think it's really sad to even think of having the option to have an abortion in our state. I think that people should have more morals.
I've got a daughter, so
wow.
I want to...
Wow, people should have more morals.
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, I'm her advocate, and now she's of age to vote, too. So I'm hoping, she exercises that right. But that's a big deal to both of us.
So, Caroline...
So serious to us, even though I'm done having kids. And it's kind of ridiculous that people want to force people to do things with their bodies in this way. It's like, hey, if you want to have kids, you have the ability to have kids. Why are you telling other people whether or not they should? That's a personal choice.
Want voters to go to the polls in November to vote for this ballot initiative, and while they're there, they're hoping that they're also going to vote for the Democrats that are on the ballot, both President Biden and the Senate candidate Debbie Murkowski. Let me ask you about the other side of this ruling, the ruling that says that getting an abortion is not a constitutional right because it doesn't fall under the constitutional right to privacy. How did the court fall on that?
Well, the court said that there is no right to abortion in Florida's Constitution, and that is going to trigger a 6-week abortion ban in the state, which, you know, I've been talking all morning, all night to abortion providers, not just in Florida, but across the country, who are really having a hard time putting into words the impact that that is going to have, not just in Florida, but really.
So in case you missed that, because a plane went by your ear, or you dropped your phone, or you were temporarily deaf and blind from all of the nonsense we've already incurred on this stream, what she just said is that, and you did not mishear her, a 6-week abortion ban in place in Florida, effective immediately after this ruling.
Across the entire country, there are 80,000 women that get abortions in Florida every year, which is far more than any other spanned state that we have seen so far. So really the ripple effects of that ruling are going to be massive, and you're going to have voters living with that on the ground reality for 6 months before they get the opportunity to vote on it.
Yeah, and let's see what the consequences of that are come November. You can see in that map we just had the, how abortion has been changed all around the country. When you're talking about having a 6-week ban in Florida, it's not.
It's getting out of control. Okay. Oh my God. This country is. I hate this graphic. I hate this graphic so much.
Easy. The state's also very big.
This is
but
me.
It's not so easy to drive to another state to get access, because, Caroline, the states around it have very limited abortion allowances as well. Let me play a doctor from Florida today talking about how this might impact health care.
We actually know that we are doing harm.
Under his eye. You're right, Monop. I think I'm going to end the stream. Well, not end it. Just end the news. I think we're done with the news. And let's just binge watch some Handmaid's Tale together. What do you think? We just gotta prepare for what's coming, you know? It just why continue? I'm kidding, chat, kidding. Not that cynical.
To our patients by banning and restricting abortion, and it's challenging. I think from the community, our big ask is leave this to healthcare providers and patients. We're looking at abortion deserts where people, if they have the means necessary to travel, will have to go elsewhere for their care.
Do you think women will die?
Absolutely.
That was at a reproductive freedom hearing in Fort Lauderdale.
I swear to God, Pitchforks, if you start sending me links to the top YouTube searches when you just type in crocodiles, I am... I'm gonna lose it, pal. I'm gonna lose it. And honestly, for me personally, the difference between a crocodile and the alligator is so slight that and me, I'm sort of like, I'm a big Archer fan, and I too have something of a distaste for gators and crocodiles, so I'm not really gonna distinguish between the two of them and just say down with all large lizards. Okay? That's where I'm at. Anything with sharp teeth that's bigger than a dog and has scaled armor can go suck it. Okay? Alright, what's next? Focusing. But yeah, I think that the title of that video makes a ton of sense. Run to another state. Run, seriously. Florida. But I would point out that graph, refer you back to that graph. Run to a specific different state. Don't just run to any other state. You could wind up in a worse predicament somehow. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Look, let's not get into the classification of what kingdom or genus, whatever, gators and And crocodiles happen to fall under. Okay, I don't have time. We have other more important things to discuss right now. Let's go to this one. It's from 6 hours ago. Associated Press. Google to purge billions of files containing personal data in Chrome privacy case settlement. Yay, good news. Finally. Why are you muted? What in the actual fuck right now?
Google recently announced a major settlement where they agreed to delete billions of records on customers that were collected when they were using the Google Chrome incognito mode. Now, for years, people thought that incognito mode was a way to keep them, well, just that, incognito, to keep their browsing private. But in fact, incognito mode did very little to prevent your browsing from being tracked by companies like Google. This is entirely a problem of Google's own creation. They never had to have a private browsing mode. They never had to promise anyone they were going to keep their data safe, but they did it anyway. What we see is that privacy is something that customers find incredibly valuable. And if you're going to go out there with a promise and not deliver, there's a real risk that you're going to end up in court. There are still so many ways that every keystroke we type, every URL we visit can be tracked and used against us in a court of law. And I'm terrified about the ways that that can undermine not just anonymity, not just autonomy, but democracy itself.
And thankfully, a court has basically ruled that he's right about that. And if you didn't quite catch it, Google is being forced to purge a massive trove of files containing your personal data, potentially. In that Chrome privacy settlement, what is next? Oh, okay. Sorry, chat, we got a bunch of like business and tech news to get through here. But it's important to keep track of what the capitalists are doing. 6 hours ago, Reuters, GE completes three-way split. This is historic.
GE Aerospace on the left and GE Verona, an energy company, on the right, celebrated side by side on their first day of trading on the New York Stock Exchange Tuesday. It marked the official split of General Electric into three separate companies after GE Healthcare Technologies started trading on the NASDAQ last year. It's the end of an era for the industrial conglomerate that was once a symbol of American business power. The three-way breakup is the culmination of CEO Larry Culp's efforts to breathe life into the company. The 2008 financial crisis nearly bankrupted its most profitable business, GE Capital, which was deemed too big to fail by the U.S. government. As it lurched from crisis to crisis, GE, which was an original member of the blue-chip Dow Jones Industrial Average, lost its place in the index in June 2018. Culp took over as CEO a few months later.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted us to look at that. And while it wasn't, what's the word? It wasn't mandated by law. I believe that it was partly done ahead of time. Because I do, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I do believe that there is something of an undercurrent of people looking to break up companies that are too powerful and have too much market omniscience, I guess you might say. Granted, GE is far from that these days. However, I do think that that's the sort of stuff that needs to be happening. And even if it was a decision by the company, I'm glad to see GE broken up into multiple companies. I think it can only be good things that happen from things like that. What's next? Reuters. Oh, we kind of looked at this recently. kind of looked at it, but let's just look at this again and gloat a little bit more. This is from 6 hours ago from Reuters. Tesla deliveries decline for the first time since 2020. Oh, it's so sad for Elon Musk. Oh, God.
Shares of Tesla sank on Tuesday after the electric vehicle maker reported a drop in quarterly deliveries for the first time in nearly 4 years. The slump in deliveries, Tesla's closest approximation of sales, was described by some analysts as ugly, and it comes despite price cuts to drive up lagging demand. Elon Musk's EV maker said it delivered nearly 387,000 vehicles in the first 3 months of this year. That's an 8.5% drop from a year ago and a 20% drop from the previous quarter.
That's bad.
One analyst called
bad
the result
numbers right
an
there.
unmitigated disaster that is hard to explain away,
I don't want
adding,
reality.
quote, "This was a train wreck into a brick wall quarter for
good,
Musk
and he
and
looks
Company." Tesla attributed the drop in deliveries to its efforts to prepare its Fremont, California factory to handle increased production of the updated Model 3 and to shutdowns at its Berlin plant due to the impact of the Red Sea conflict and an arson attack. The company has also been facing intense competition in China from local players, including market leader BYD, which overtook Tesla as the largest EV maker in the fourth quarter. But there's another factor that could be denting Tesla's reputation: its CEO's often polarizing personality.
Don't be creepy.
A recent survey showed that Musk's tilt to right-wing politics and often controversial public statements are turning away some potential Tesla customers in the U.S. Still, with a market capitalization well above the combined valuation...
Okay. Well, poor Elon Musk losing money left and right. Not enough Teslas getting sold. His stock price is going down. It's very, very sad for him. Maybe we might live in a world where somehow Elon Musk is forced to work a normal job. No, never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, chat. What's next? Oh, fucking hell. We're at this point now. Butts. Okay. Well, first we're gonna do this one. So this is like a little bit of environmental, related news, somewhat. This, first one, though, is still related to Elon Musk somehow. This is from 6ABC, 2 hours ago. Did you see it? Multiple bright burning objects streak across the Southern California skies. What were they? Well, let's find out.
Well, a wild sight in the skies above Southern California early this morning. Social media users posted what appeared to be flaming debris streaking across the city. The mysterious sight had a lot of people speculating, but very few answers. Multiple sightings were reported to the American Meteor Society, but it wasn't a meteor shower. The likely cause was debris from the SpaceX Falcon launch the evening.
Fuck you, Elon Musk. Fuck you, pal. Okay.
Zuckerbucks.
Sick of your bullshit. Elon Musk related space junk is a genuine scourge on this world and space. Fuck you. Fuck you, Elon. Alright, what's next? What is next? Oh, right. Now we're on to this. So this is from like literally an hour ago, a little bit longer now. Taiwan hit by strongest earthquake in 25 years, which has triggered a tsunami warning. But first, let's look at the actual footage of the earthquake itself in Taiwan.
Just bring us up to speed. What's happening in the latest?
Okay, good morning. So at about 2 minutes to 8 a.m. this morning, we were struck in Taipei by a fairly strong trembler. It's the strongest I've had in my 10 years in Taiwan. And we've just been informed by the government that it was the strongest quake to have hit the island since at least 1999. That was an earthquake which killed more than 2,000 people. Now, in Taiwan, I'm working from the middle of Taipei. I can't see any visible signs of damage, but the actual initial trembler was fairly long. It went from, at a guess, 20 to 30 seconds, and we've had several aftershocks since then. We understand that there have been some evacuations from some facilities, particularly closer to the epicenter of the earthquake, which was in Hualien on the east of the island. There was a tsunami warning issued related to some parts of the east and Okinawa. My understanding is that the tsunami waves were not forecast to be particularly large, and I do understand that Okinawa has not been severely affected, but that is unconfirmed, and we're still getting information. So this happened a little over an hour ago.
Yeah, Adrian, maybe just to build on that as well, we did just get a headline coming through out of Kyoto News on Okinawa itself that the airport, the Naha airport, has halted arrivals and departures at least, well, to some extent affected to that extent. Adrian, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about any potential or current disruptions to any production supply chains. We did hear, of course, from the TSMC spokesperson about 30 minutes back. I wonder if you could give us some context on what we have heard so far along those lines.
Sure. So Taiwan is a semiconductor manufacturing hub, as you know, making some of the world's most advanced chips. We do understand some of the facilities have evacuated personnel, but I would also underscore that these are very sophisticated factories. Taiwan is habituated to earthquakes. We often get tremblers, and these are facilities which are built to withstand severe impacts. They have their own water supplies. They often have their own power generation, and Taiwan as an island, as a government, as a community, is really designed to deal with catastrophes, whether...
Okay. Moving forward on the same thing, this other report, this is also from Bloomberg. Tsunami warning issued after earthquake shakes Taiwan.
All right, just want to bring you an update on the earthquake near Taiwan. 7.5 magnitude earthquake. It happened at 21 kilometers southeast of Hualien City in Taiwan. This is according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Very strong shaking at magnitude of that strength. That was felt widely in the Taiwanese capital, Taipei. Now, a tsunami warning has also been issued for a number of those small Japanese islands that you see there just to the northeast of Taiwan. Also a tsunami warning for Japan's Okinawa prefecture. Local residents told to evacuate, and tsunami waves as high as 3 meters are being potentially forecast. So sounds like quite a serious magnitude 7.5 quake and a tsunami warning for those southern Japanese islands.
Okay. I believe this is still live. It might not be. Okay, no, it appears to not be live anymore. Hopefully that's a good sign. I'm just going to zoom through this. It was live when I first started streaming, so I just threw it in here. I didn't really get to watch any of it, really. Was that AP? No, it's Bloomberg. Fucking Bloomberg, of course. Well, there certainly seem to be some waves. Okay. Okay, so I just got the update on it. It looks like 5 minutes ago, literally. The tsunami warning was lifted. So, doom, at least to some degree, averted. Yay. What's next? Alright. Before we move on to more global things, let's look at some stuff in Canada and in a couple of other places. Let's see. Wait, why are these in this order? Do I do this right now? Hold on. Do I even have time for this? Alright, we're gonna look at it quickly. Although I've somehow misplaced all the freaking information I was using to research this because I'm really good at this job.
I don't want reality.
Okay, this is from Global News 13 hours ago. Axe the tax. Protesters halt traffic across Canada in opposition to carbon price tax.
There are many here honking in support, others in frustration, as hundreds of protesters take over much of the Trans-Canada. Riding Easter.
Whoa, it's at 2x right now, isn't it? Totally. Okay.
There are many here honking in support, others in frustration, as hundreds of protesters take over much of the Trans-Canada. Grinding Easter weekend traffic to a one-lane impasse on the politics of pollution.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like, they're just creating more chaos.
So we're pumping a whole bunch out because we can't get down the road.
Those who pass silently are labeled as supportive to a government pushing up the price on carbon as...
I wonder what the fuck that flag was. That it had to be, blurred. Look, Global News had to blur this flag. It was so offensive.
To a government pushing up the price on carbon as many struggle to afford the basics.
I just wonder if this little protest here, magnified all across Canada, how many voters that represents in the next election.
We need our freedom, we need our rights, and we need to be able to pay our bills. And I'm not scared for me, but I'm scared for my children, and I'm scared for my grandchildren.
Scared for her children, why? Why is she scared for them? That's the question. I feel like once we get down to that, things are going to get weird.
That's why we're here.
As Axe the Tax protesters target busy highways and provincial borders across the country, the Prime Minister maintains the $15 per ton increase will be returned to most Canadians at rebates. And many economists suggest the policy does incentivize changes.
And that's the driver of carbon pricing, that it makes the alternatives to emissions less expensive. And the fact that you have purchasing power from the rebate doesn't mean that you will necessarily continue spending exactly or continue using exactly what you did before.
Changes of little use to some who don't see the point.
Climate change is just a hoax, like everything else.
Okay.
The tax gang!
And others who simply want a break.
I just wonder.
That lady's totally not unhinged at all.
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Ah, boy. See, like, I know that's not the same lady, but like I was saying, I think once you start getting down to the bottom of it, people are... they might have some fucked up reasons for being out there. I did the math on it. Technically... Hold on, let me get this in front of me, because I did the math and somehow I lost the web pages and everything else I had done. Son of a bitch. So it's $15 per ton of gasoline. Now, 1 ton of gasoline is nearly 600 gallons of gas, okay? Oh, shit. What's the conversion from gallons to liters? I don't know what that is, and I'm sorry for that. As I'm pretty sure you folks do liters in Canada, but yeah, it's nearly, I think it's like 560 some odd gallons per ton, right? So that's a lot. I don't know how many gallons of gas you happen to use yearly, but $15 is not a whole lot of money in that case, right? If you do the math, it turns out to be like, I think, what was it, 3 cents a gallon? Hold on. I think it's 3 cents. I think I'm actually overshooting. Yeah, it's like somewhere around 3 cents per gallon. It's very small. And then if you look at the rebates, which unfortunately I have lost the graph that I was using, but it was from H&R Block, which told you exactly how much to expect back as a rebate. And it appears to me, by the math, that a rebate will wind up giving you more than you pay out. Unless you are driving for a living or your business, because I don't believe businesses get rebates. But yeah, I don't understand why, aside from hating the climate changers and the woke culturalists, I don't know why you're out here, right? Unless it really directly affects you and you're doing business where you are, in fact, using a ton of gas, in which I would argue you deserve, or you should be paying that money. So, sorry. But not sorry. UK gallons are different to US gallons. That is ridiculous. Why would anybody do that? That doesn't make any sense. Whoever's in charge of that is an asshole. Alright, I'm going to skip this next video, because it's the same thing. It's a guy being completely unhinged over the carbon tax. And we're gonna go to this next one. Hush. Hush. Alright. Yeah, there was a bunch of very unhinged people yelling about how they love fossil fuels and they think that the wokes are trying to take away their freedom for using things that pollute and destroy the environment. Let's watch this next one from Global News 6 hours ago. Will tying Canadians' rent to credit scores help amid housing crunch? I'm going to say no. But let's see what the quote-unquote experts have to say.
When Canadians go to buy their first home or get a loan, their credit score can often be the determining factor to getting approved.
The credit score is, the likelihood of a consumer or a business to repay their bills or pay their bills on time, and an assessment of creditworthiness.
And as Canada faces a housing crisis with extremely short supply along with soaring rental prices, the federal Liberals are looking to make rental history a part of that score to get some Canadians closer to their goals. It's part of new measures announced aimed at protecting renters and helping them enter the housing market.
Now, I get what they're trying to do, but in this case, I think that's probably a bad idea. Mostly due to the fact that people who may struggle to pay rent from time to time, for whatever economic reason, are probably going to be negatively affected by that. As I think you can assume pretty easily that if they're using credit system, missed payments are also going to affect your credit. They're not just going to say, "Oh, you made a payment. Here you go. Your credit score went up." No. That won't be happening. I can assure you, they will also be stringently applying any sort of downgrades to your credit for missing payments. Okay, what's next? Okay, we're gonna leave North America and go a little south, down to Haiti. Once again, just touching down here once a day to see what's happening. This is from the Associated Press, where a apparent gun battle erupted between police and gangs in Haiti near the National Palace. Just to remind everybody, this is a downstream effect of Western colonialism and hegemony, and yeah, treating Haiti as a extension of Western foreign policy for the last number of decades, centuries, really. And it probably won't be solved by more Western hegemony, even though some people are knee-jerk reacting in that direction. I would urge caution. Okay. Do we do this one now? Yeah, fuck it. Wait, no. How is this in the wrong order? How dare you? How darest thou? So many raptors in chat. It's beautiful. Truly breathtaking. Okay, I think I got this lined up now. Let's go to England. Well, technically, not England, excuse me. Let's go to Scotland. Whoa. What are you doing? Oh, why does my internet and or computer hate me? Okay, we're gonna do it this way. That's fine. No. No big deal. No big deal. Not annoying. I'm just gonna completely do it this way, which is in no way frustrating or bothersome or any of those sorts of adjectives. 100 subscribers. I hit 100 subscribers. What? Is that true? Is this true? Is that factual? Who was the 100th? Who was the 100th? I see it. You're right. Bernard Marks. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know. Who was the 100th subscriber? That's the question. That's huge. That is huge. I'm just gonna give everybody this round of applause. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. Okay. Triple digits. Moving on up. Okay. All right, let's start here. Well, not start here, but we are going global. In Scotland, J.K. Rowling hate posts not criminal, police say. Hello. Okay, what the fuck? I'm closing this and reopening the entire window. Because that's just crazy, dog. I don't understand what's happening. Your only regret is that you only have one like to give the chat. Well, that's fine. One like is the exact number of likes that everybody has, and yeah, not you know, nothing to be upset about. Can't change it. Please God, no J.K. Rowling. I'm sorry, Stefan. I'm sorry. It will be short. It will be quick. And, well, not necessarily painless. Now, I haven't been able to find the tweet. I don't know if she took it down or what happened, but apparently J.K. Rowling tweeted some very anti-trans bigotry recently, and with the passing of a new anti-hate speech law in Scotland, there's been some discussion as to whether or not what she said was a crime. So let's listen in. And it's muted.
Potter author J.K. Rowling as a criminal act. It relates to her posts on the social media site X, which in Scotland have confirmed they are not treating tweets by the Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling as a criminal act. It relates to her posts on the social media site X, which came as Scotland introduced a new hate crime law on Monday. She described several transgender women as men, including convicted sexual offenders, and signed off her tweet by saying, "If what I've written..."
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. The new laws in Scotland, which are overseen by the Scottish Parliament, were also put to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and whilst he wouldn't be drawn on whether he supported Ms Rowling, he did say there was no likelihood of the legislation being adopted elsewhere.
Ah, fuck you, J.K. Rowling. she's the worst, I swear to God. And I wish I could find this tweet, which I have not been able to do. But I feel like it has to exist somewhere, although she's got enough money to probably hide anything on the internet, including the definition of bitch. Alright, just kidding. Just kidding, I've gone too far. I take it back. Take it back. But not really. Okay, what's next? France. Okay, France. What's happening? Oh, right, this. Uh-huh. Here's a question posed by BBC News. Why are rural communities turning to France's far right? You think she had to delete it? That sounds right. That sounds correct. Okay, so yeah, this is from 11 hours ago. Let's look at what the fuck is happening in France.
Montbéliard in the Jura. One of those places on the mountainous fringes of France, a borderland close to Germany and Switzerland, where invading armies once marched, to be replaced more recently by flows outward of jobs, investment and people.
What you've got here is typical of what they call La France profonde, deep France, these rural areas where job losses, economic dislocation, unhappiness with the way things are have created opportunities. On the far left, it's true, but mainly for the far right. The question is whether in these elections they'll make really substantial gains and change the political game in France.
Christian Courrouge worked at the Peugeot car plant for decades. Now it's largely closed. He's trying to organize resistance to the far right.
With the rise of the National Front, I felt I had to talk about it. Because it seems so disgusting, so nauseating. It smells like sewage. It is like the plague is coming. I do not want that, neither for me nor my grandchildren.
These days, the National Front calls itself the National Rally, and Quentin Maculo is among their local militants or activists under the leadership of Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella, the party's new talent who's coming to Montbéliard.
En fait, c'est dans la continuité, on va dire qu'ils sont assez complémentaires. Les deux, Marine Le Pen va plus toucher les personnes qui...
Do they just give out this haircut to right-wingers? What's the deal with that? Oh shit, sorry Jen. He's talking in French and I'm not doing my job. Hold on.
The party's new talent who's coming to Montbéliard.
These two complement each other. Marine Le Pen is going to reach more people, fuck Marine Le Pen, that are grassroots National Front supporters. Jordan Bardella will speak to the youth and those who are not usually interested in politics. For fuck's sake. His communication skills and relatability makes people more interested in the national rally.
Vincent Lebrun teaches politics at the nearby Besançon University. He's charted the growth in the far-right vote in successive elections as voters for centrist parties increasingly abstain.
These rural areas are hit by unemployment and deindustrialization, and the population is often less educated and experiences socio-professional difficulties. In this region, unhappiness is more apparent, and an opportunity is unlikely, so the RN achieves a greater success.
Friday was sale day on Montbéliard's main shopping street. The stock clearance and spring sunshine brought plenty of people out, searching for a bargain. Many here feel they've lost their sense of security, both economic and from crime. Flavie Jacot is a floating voter who wants to feel safe again.
And unfortunately, people like this woman here, her response to it is she just wants things to be safe, and she doesn't want to get... And honestly, she basically sounds like a big Karen. Ugh. Anyway, moving forward. We've had enough of France for now. Put away the cheese and the baguettes. Big chat words. Oh, Bad Lefty's out of chat jail. Holy fuck. On today of all days? On today of all days, out of chat jail? It's a miracle, everyone. We reached 100 subscribers, and Bad Lefty is not in chat jail. It is praise Jesus.
Jesus, I say that.
No, whatever, Amorosa. You're no fun. Okay, what's next? Oh, okay. This is from a day ago. Dozens of villages have flooded in Russia's Altai region.
ПВР находится 48 человек, из них 10 детей.
Oh shit. This is hella loud. Hold on. There are 48 people, including 10 children in temporary accommodation centers. They were provided with amenities and support was provided.
Были предоставлены предметы первой необходимости, то есть полностью жизнеобеспечение организовано. Доступ в село Ракиты организована доставка продуктов, организована водная переправа.
Shit, I'm trying to do too many things at once here. I am failing. Access to the village of Rakiti has now been provided, as well as supply line for food and water. Of course, we want to go home, but there is water everywhere, and when will it dry out? Okay. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Nope. Okay. And just for context here, Altai is an internal, it's near Mongolia and Kazakhstan, so it's very much on the internal area of Russia, and in fact, I guess, well, that's not really internal of Asia, but on the border, the southern border of Russia. Alright, let's watch this to get us. Oh my god, you get Jessica Fletcher with your 30 likes, 31 likes, excuse me. Let's just watch this to palate cleanse us before we move forward. What time is it? How far am I? And what the fuck am I doing? Might be time for a break in a second. Yeah, I just felt compelled. Actually, I might hold off. I might hold off in this next video and take a quick break. We're an hour and a half in. Feels right, because we got like at least another hour and a half to go. And this next hour and a half to 2 hours is gonna require a little focus. Okay, fuck it, let's do this instead. Well, I hope you've all been enjoying the stream so far. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the Galactic News Network stream, where me and all these space fams are hanging out. And for now, let's chill out by this pool for about 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes here. Listen to some music, drink some drinks, in a sort of brief intermission between all of this news and or doom that we have to look at. If you haven't yet, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. If that's not enough for you, and you'd like to support me even further, you can become a Galactic patron for just a few dollars a month by clicking this link in chat, where access to a cornucopia of Galactic benefits awaits.
Close it up, just like my wife's vagina. just like my wife's vagina.
All right, chat. I am back. Hope you all enjoyed a little chill session by the pool. Finish your drinks before we get back into orbit. Let's get going.
Strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Okay, what is next? Oh, okay, let's break ourselves into all of this stuff we have to talk about regarding Israel. And you'll notice I'm not saying Gaza, because this relates to Israel more broadly. Perhaps unfortunately, because well, I'm sure you'll see if you're not already aware of what's been happening very recently. But to palate cleanse us even further between what we were just doing and what we're about to do, let's watch this Associated Press video. I don't know if you ever see these. I don't know if you're subscribed to the Associated Press. Not a lot of people are, aside from like journalists. But this is April 2nd, today in history.
April 2nd, 2005. Pope John Paul II dies at his apartment in the Vatican at age 84. He led the Roman Catholic Church for 26 years and helped topple communism in Eastern Europe.
May Christ give you his grace and his peace, overturning the barriers of division and making all things one in him.
1917. In Washington, President Woodrow Wilson asks Congress to declare war on Germany. Wilson says the world must be made safe for democracy. The U.S. enters World War I days later. 1513. Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon lands in Florida during his search for the mythical Fountain of Youth. 1982. In the South Atlantic, troops from Argentina seize the disputed Falkland Islands from Britain. British forces retake the islands from Argentina by the following June. And 1805. Storyteller Hans Christian Andersen is born in Denmark. Among his
So really it's a mixed bag. April 2nd. Just figured we'd watch something random as fuck, but mildly historical and informative. Hope you learned something there. Even if it was stupid and probably irrelevant to your life. Well, good to see you, Gabby. Now let's actually look at Israel and what's been happening there. First, we're going to take a look at the aid situation quickly. First video from the Associated Press from a day ago. Lack of clean water and sanitation affects thousands of displaced Palestinians in South Gaza. We walk several kilometers in order to fill up 1 or 2 gallons. A gallon of water is not enough for washing. My children only bathe once every 15 fucking days. There are no bathrooms and there's no water at all. When it is available, we buy water to drink. The water we get from walking several kilometers to get it is not even suitable for drinking. You can't drink it, prepare dough from it, or use it for cooking. We only use it for washing, and washing it as we do it to bathe the children. Huh. That sucks. The situation is fucking out of control. I know I've probably said it about 1,000 different ways, but I'm going to continue to search for new ways of describing the ridiculous nature of the situation. The ambulance took all my children away at night. They were suffering from colic and vomiting. The doctor came and examined them and said that they needed urgent treatment inside the hospital. We went, they gave them treatment, their health condition improved, and we left. This is because of the water, of course. They're living outdoors. The places are covered in flies. They used to have buildings and some amount of infrastructure. And now they're getting water from the most ridiculous fucking places you can imagine. I mean, think about that. You have a couple of gallons. Do you know how many gallons of water you use when you shower? I'll tell you this much. It's more than 2. It's way more than 2.
هذا بسبب المية طبعا المية ملوثة يعني احنا ممكن نتحملها بس الصغار بتحملوهاش.
We can tolerate it, but the children cannot
لا
tolerate
في مية كمان
it.
في أيام والله ما بنلاقيها أصلا مية بنضطر نشرب مية مالحة.
You're forced to drink salt water, well water. This is not clean
طبعا بالمرة مش نظيفة خالص.
Fuck you. Wait, Monop is leading some sort of a charge? I missed that somehow. Give us Jessica Fletcher or give us death? You don't have Jessica Fletcher? What is wrong with me today? I'm so sorry. No, I will not be killing people in chat over Jessica Fletcher. Okay? You get your Jessica Fletcher. Just, it's that simple. You do not have to go. We don't have to rise to the level of tomatoes or anything else. Everybody solved it. Fixed it. Okay. Thankfully, most of those tomatoes can't make it into low Earth orbit. So, I think I'm okay. Unless you have rocket-propelled tomatoes, then we have a problem. Okay, one more quick video regarding the current state of aid and, anyways, this is from a day ago as well. Associated Press, open arms ship in aid convoy for Gaza approaches shore. Another one of these ships that provides about 2% of the daily needed supplies in Gaza, so 1/50th of what's needed. So, it's a drop in the literal bucket. Tomato launchers? Do you have tomato launchers? Then I have a problem then. We're in trouble here at the space station. I need a drink. Anyways, just figured we would momentarily look into that abyss. Because that shit's frustrating the hell out of me. Every time I see one of these little boats, I mean, don't get me wrong. We should be getting the aid to them. But we all know, factually, there's a much easier way to do this. And the boats and the shipments and the air being dropped into the water, all these strategies are terrible and not doing nearly enough. Just doesn't cover it. Just, the numbers don't add up. 1 and 1 do not make 2. 1 and 1 do not make 500 trucks a day. You know?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
All right, let's quickly look at this again. I know we looked at this yesterday quickly. Well, not quickly. We looked at this in some detail yesterday, but since... Yeah, I never know who's here for sure. Might as well double check on this one. Israel's withdrawal from Gaza's Shifa hospital leaves vast swath of destruction. They were found seated in a corner, covered with blood. The bodies were left for 7 days and were swollen. Thank God we were able to bury them, but it was difficult because the bodies were beginning to fucking melt. Fuck you. Fuck you for that. What the fuck? I can't read anymore. God damn it. I missed that in my watching of this earlier. Okay. Okay, pulling myself together. That is fucked up. That is just fucked up. Okay. They, the Israeli military, struck the house with an F-16. The family was able to leave the house only to be struck by drones. Oh, how great for Israel to... Family? I thought they were only killing Hamas's... What? God damn it. I can't even be sarcastic right now. It's just too fucking tragic. I'm trying and I'm just completely losing at it. Like, if it was a competition at being sarcastic right now, I just can't do it. I'm sorry, Chad.
ضربوا البيت بالإف 16 قدروا ينسحبوا برا البيت ضربتهم صواريخ الزنانة استشهدوا 7 4 نجوا
7 were martyred and 4 survived. There was a dead body with severed parts on the corner here with the leg and other parts all over. And on the top floor here we found the remains of a body that flew. Fuck you. Oh, God damn it. How is this still going on? What day? What day is it? What's my age again? What's happening? Is it April? Is it April? Has this been going for 6 months? Oh, Jesus Christ. Where is Jesus, by the way? All these Bible people are saying Jesus is supposed to come back. And where is Jesus?
Jesus, I say that.
What are you telling me, Amorosa? That Jesus didn't have an existential crisis?
Jesus, I say that.
Okay, whatever. What's next? Thankfully, I have a semi-good way to end this stream today. That's the only thing that's keeping me going right now. I'm gonna edge you. You don't even know what it is, but it's good. I know I don't put any information in my title ever. Just come for doom. But at least there is a semi-fun-ish ending to all of this today. Today, just for the day, or just to wrap the. You get what I'm saying. Anyways, let's quickly look at some stuff relating to internal Israeli. No, it's not the rapture. That's not. No, that's not what's happening at the end of the stream. I'm not. First off, not in control of that. Nor do I believe in that. Wow, Gabby's stoked on the rapture apparently, or is she stoked on something else? I'm not sure. People are stoked about things. What is it? What? Fiery. Hold on. I'm getting too distracted by all of you. You're also lovely and chatty. That I'm not reading my own stuff that I should be doing. Okay. Associated Press. one day ago. Let's look at some Israeli protesters who have camped outside the Israeli Knesset, urging Benjamin Netanyahu to quit, leave.
We cannot imagine him not being replaced because he's driving us to the abyss. We are in a place where if he's not changed, and again, if good leaders or a new coalition is not taking over, we are doomed.
Bibi, your time is up. We don't want you anymore.
I've been doing for the last 4 months. I'm asking politely to Mr. Netanyahu to go away. We don't have patience anymore. We have our kids that...
I know this is serious, but that's funny. Please leave. Please go. I just love that. Granted, she, like many Israelis, may very well think that the genocide in Gaza is a good thing, and I would certainly object to that, but there's no way to be sure. And I just thought it would be good. We don't really pay attention to these protests too much because of that fact, but I loved that little that little line. Just go away. I couldn't say it any better. Who he'd be replaced by, I have no idea, but fuck. I love the sentiment. Next is another Associated Press video from 17 hours ago. Israel's military... Oh, okay, wait a second. This is in the wrong order. I need to do something about that. Okay, hold on. I have to reset this real quick. Because that's the wrong video. Why must I do this to myself? Okay.
Now, democracy now.
Okay. I think I got this right now. So let's look for a period of time here at what's going on now in Iran and Syria, as Israel recently struck the Iranian consulate or some sort of Iranian embassy related building in Syria, and has recently made claims that revenge, I believe, will come to Israel for this attack. So the implications are obviously huge, like we were saying yesterday when we first broke this news. By break, I mean we first talked about this news. Broke is definitely the wrong term to use. But we had a bit of a discussion on how this was supposed to never devolve into a larger regional conflict, if you will. But, well, as it appears, they are fighting multiple fronts in the region, and might just continue to get worse if something isn't done soon. Let's watch this Democracy Now! Video entitled, Israel Risking a Two-Front War, Maybe a Three-Front War, after latest strike against Iran in Syria. Alright, Amy Goatman, give it to us.
.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Iran's vowed to retaliate after Israel bombed the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing at least 7 people, including 3 senior Iranian commanders and at least 4 other Iranian officers. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says the death toll could be as high as 11. Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a senior commander in the Al-Quds force, is dead. He's said to be the highest-ranking Iranian military officer to be killed since the U.S. assassinated General Qasem Soleimani under Trump in Baghdad in 2020. Iran's ambassador to Syria, Hossein Akbari, condemned Israel for striking a diplomatic building. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said, quote, "We will make them regretful about the crime and similar acts," unquote. The Arab League condemned the strike and accused Israel of trying to, quote, "expand the war and push the region to chaos," unquote. The New York Times described Monday's attack as among the deadliest in a years-long shadow war between Israel and Iran. The attack in Syria also came a day after Israel assassinated a Hezbollah leader in Lebanon. We're joined now by Akbar Shahid Ahmed, senior diplomatic correspondent for HuffPost. Can you talk about the significance of this strike and who died, Akbar?
Sure, Amy. So...
Yeah, I'm just going to respond to some of these chats before I let this guy go. But no, Stefan, you're right. Israel's completely out of control. And Bella's right about war being a racket, too. I mean, Israel's big time in the military-industrial complex. They're, like, paying themselves to to attack and massacre people all around the area. And Gabby gets basically a free pass on shenanigans.
The commander who was killed was sort of the connective tissue between Iran and a lot of its proxies, specifically Hezbollah in Lebanon, but also folks they work with in Syria. So this is someone extremely valuable, extremely important to Iran. And part of the significance is not just who he is, it's also where he was killed, right? This is Israel choosing to target a diplomatic facility. Iran has now said that both Zahedi and other people who were targeted had diplomatic passports. So from their point of view, this is Israel breaching serious diplomatic norms. And the anxiety today is that because Israel has chosen to go after such a senior, high-profile person, there cannot not be a response, right? Either from Iran or from some of its...
This is me right now, and sorry for your ears, but this is genuinely how I'm feeling right now. Like straight up Alex Jones tearing his shirt off in the studio. Madman.
So what does that look like, and what's the spiral of violence and escalation we're now on?
And Akbar, could you talk about this? It's been decades now that Israel has used this policy of assassinations and often attacks in other countries on people that it determines to be immediate enemies of itself. How has the international community allowed this and basically turned its away from looking at these consistent acts of what can only be called terror?
So one, the Israelis see this as part of their self-defense strategy, right? They do a very effective job of convincing lawmakers, US officials, European officials that they need to do this or they'll be at risk. What's really different now after October 7th is the pace of these strikes and the audacity, right? While Israel is receiving huge amounts of American support, while Gaza is suffering and Israel is pummeling that strip, we now see them risking a 2-front war, maybe a 3-front war. And that's where, yes, there's a decades-old pattern of them doing this. That's where we're in a totally different, more dangerous phase right now. And I think while the US has quietly sort of conveyed its message to Iran, we don't want this to escalate, we weren't involved, we're not responsible, it's really hard to avoid miscalculations on all sides. And again, from the Iranian point of view, they can't let this go unresponsible.
You know what I need, chat, that I don't have? And at this point, I think we need just for the support. Just for the support. Just to get through the madness, if you will. This is necessary. Yeah, I might have to do this later. I had an idea, but god damn it. YouTube is making my life terrible. No, it's gonna not Cisco. Not too many Ciscos. I've said it once. I'll say it twice. I'll say it 3 times. Chicken soup with rice. Too many Ciscos is bad for the disco. I've definitely said that before. Okay, moving on. No, I was going to make a sound shot, but the only way to make this sound shot is by listening to a whole song that will definitely get me copy struck like midstream. So I guess it'll just have to happen on another day. It's unfortunate, really, because I need it a little bit, but I'm gonna power through it. Anyway, back to this.
That's true.
And Akbar, if you can talk about why you think this has happened right now and what you think this means. We have response from all over. Ali Vaez, Iran analyst for the International Crisis Group, told Al Jazeera Israel may be pushing to expand the war in what would be a, quote, win-win situation for Israel. Why?
Sure. So this is so much about the political calculus of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's very much the assessment not just here in Washington among a lot of US officials who are really worried about where this is going. It's also the assessment of a lot of Israelis, right? That Netanyahu sees this as a moment to create a rally around the flag effect. And timing-wise, I think it's important to remember 6 months into their war in Gaza, they haven't gotten the scalp that they wanted to of Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas leader in Gaza. They haven't brought home the hostages, the Israelis they wanted to bring home. So it's a distraction, right, for Netanyahu. I think in terms of the significance, too, we cannot help but think about the most horrifying aspect of this, right, which is the N-word, the nuclear word. Because of President Donald Trump withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, which was working, Iran is now closer to developing a nuclear weapon than it ever has been before, right? That's a Trump decision. Now, if Iran assesses they need to establish deterrence and confidence and send a signal to Israel, will they go down that path? And that's where the US starts to risk being involved too. So what I'm hearing...
Yeah. I almost want to watch this whole thing because it's so fucking troubling, but we've got even more stuff to talk about relating to this same situation. But I think you heard... But if you didn't, you know, after the Iran nuclear deal was dissolved by President Trump during his term, the Iranians said great and started working on it. So with this whole situation developing the way it is, it's very, very, very troubling because they both technically have it, right? They both have nuclear capabilities to some degree. Okay. Then when you start thinking about it, you got fucking Russia and Ukraine. You got like 7 wars happening in Africa. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's like at least 3. Oh god, Haiti, everything else. We need some solutions. We need some solutions, chat. Fuck. Okay, what's next? Sticking with this Iran thing for a quick moment. This is a France 24 English discussion. How far could it escalate? Iran vows retaliation after Damascus consulate attack. This is 11 hours ago. You expect the worst? Well,
Israel certainly taking on all comers. Monday's airstrike in Damascus that killed 3 senior Iranian commanders, the most spectacular of its kind since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. We'll ask about Tehran's response, whether it will try to draw in the United States, and after months of cross-border rocket exchanges between Israel and Lebanon, about the risk of all-out war on a second front. Meanwhile, The nightmare continues for Gaza. Will the killing of 7 aid workers and the beginnings of a famine force Israel to wind down operations there? Last week, its closest ally, the U.S., abstained on a UN ceasefire resolution, thus sending its strongest signal yet that it's time to wind down what will soon be 6 months of war. So far, that
You're trying to fake hope. Honestly, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We should all try this. We should all be trying to fake hope as much as possible. Because here's the thing I will point out about human psychology and group psychology, right? When you look at the right, like, they have a very powerful tool of psychology, being the group hope of Christianity, right? And even if you want to call it a mass hysteria or whatever else negative about it, there is that one benefit which I do wish that we could harness more. Unfortunately, leftists are too logical for most of this, and I don't blame them. And me personally, I'm very skeptical about religions in general, but I do feel like faking the hope, there's benefits to your psychology, and also but beyond that, in terms of if a whole group of people, like you kind of saw it during like the Obama election cycle, right? The first one, right, where he used the idea of hope and change and all these other sorts of things that everybody could get behind, right? And that sort of groupthink was very powerful. Groupthink, I just used groupthink unironically. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm done talking before I say something even more annoying to myself. Oh, fucking hell.
not happening. Today in the France 24 debate, we're asking how far will escalate. Joining us from Washington, Barbara Slavin, lecturer at George Washington University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
From Herzliya in Israel, Eli Carmon, senior fellow.
Dude, I'm not saying, if you think pitchforks for a second that I'm saying logic is a weakness in that, no. I mean, have you listened to me talk? I'm obsessed with logic. I'm obsessed with data. I'm obsessed with numbers and statistics and you know, and the historical implications of things, right? And I'm not saying that we should somehow just disregard all that shit and just throw it out the window. That's crazy. I went to school for engineering. I didn't get a degree, but I did like 3.5 semesters of mechanical engineering. I'm not a real scientist, but I was training to be one, and I have that sort of thinking when I approach a lot of stuff, right? But I'm just talking about the, what do you call it, like a broader sort of like the ability to harness hope, the literal, just the idea of hope, right? Because hope is a non-scientific thing, right? Just you can't it's very difficult. If I challenged you or anybody else to quantify hope in like a statistical way, I think it'd be very difficult, maybe impossible to do. But I do see the like sociological and political benefits of that kind of thinking, right? I mean, you see how the right, how Trump harnesses it, right, to his own benefit, right? Get these people amped up, like, you know. I'm sorry, I'm just freaking. It's not that important, but don't think that I'm somehow disregarding logic. That's no, not happening today.
At the International Institute for Counterterrorism of Reichman University. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you.
And we welcome back John Linden, Executive Director of the Alliance for Middle East Peace umbrella group. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Your reactions on the hashtag F24debate. 2 airstrikes making news. Let's begin with the one in Syria. 2 generals, 5 military advisors killed. Iran's supreme leader put out a statement vowing revenge for Monday's strike. Karis Garland has more.
It represents a major escalation in Israel's fighting with its regional adversaries.
Suspected Israeli warplanes on Monday destroyed the consular annex of the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Tehran said several military officers were killed and vowed revenge.
The Zionist regime knows better than anyone that such crimes and violating international law will have its response in an appropriate time.
According to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a top commander of its Quds force, died in the strike, along with his deputy. The Quds force supports Hamas and other allied militant groups like Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Yemeni Houthis. Israel has...
Okay, we already have covered a bunch of this, so I'm going to skip forward to a particular part of this, right around, where is it? I think here.
Between Israeli position and the international community, and between Israeli government, if you want, and much of its citizens and political elements.
John Linden, you have people from your organization who are in the West Bank, in Gaza, and in Israel. Is there a sense that time is up now after what happened here?
Yeah, I mean, for the peace-building community, time has been up a long time ago. Every day this war goes on. Number one, the regional escalation we spoke about in the first part of the show, we roll the dice every day on a wider regional war. And to do that for nearly 180 days is very, very dangerous. And then much more sort of from a human perspective, the devastation in Gaza, it's truly beyond belief. I mean, Barbara mentioned the scenes from Shifa Hospital over the weekend. And again, we have so much difficulty getting information about exactly what's taking place, but we're being kind of consumed by these images, which really test all of our ideas about some sort of a community of shared values and humanity. And on the specific events overnight, I just want to really put it into the wider context. Barbara mentioned the IPC has declared the presence of famine, or the famine is imminent in the north of the Gaza Strip. About 500,000 people at real acute end of food insecurity. And some of the images we've seen, it's incontrovertible. You can see it physically, that people are starving. We now have the two main aid agencies who have withdrawn or suspended their access today. So World Central Kitchen, as you mentioned, but also in NERA. It's over 600,000 daily meals, which wasn't enough yesterday, that now aren't arriving tomorrow. We had 240 tons of aid that was being facilitated via the maritime port that World Central Kitchen put together on its way from Cyprus to Gaza, which is now turned around and gone back to Cyprus. And the UAE has said that it's suspending its provision of aid because people cannot be assured the security and the safety of aid professionals. And to the point about the risk calculation, for 7 aid professionals, humanitarian workers in a car, if there had been a Hamas member in that car, there wasn't, but if there had been, so number one, there's a proportionality question, right? Whether taking out those innocent civilians, international aid workers, is proportionate for the strategic value of taking out a Hamas member. But then there's a larger consideration. If that strike results in 600,000 meals every day not being delivered to starving people, how does that affect our risk calculus? I think we're on the cusp of there being more daily fatalities in Gaza from the humanitarian crisis than from the war. And I think the same level of seriousness and rigor and strategic insight that people are given to these wider geostrategic questions in the region, I would like those brain cells to be deployed in how we're going to feed the people of Gaza.
Oops, I thought he was done.
Avert a full famine arriving in the Gaza Strip, because for that to happen on our watch, at this 6-month war, whilst the international community looks on, it's unforgivable.
There we go. Very current. Well, thank you. I'm always trying to bring you guys the current stuff as much as I possibly can across the spectrum. Some days it is a huge struggle. Today was a little bit of one of those days. There was just so much stuff to cover. And just to give you context, we've gone through only what I would estimate at being 2/3 of what we need to go through today. So I'm sorry for that. But that, I did that kind of purposely to get us thinking about what happened. If you haven't heard about it, I can't remember the exact number. I think 6 or 7 people were killed who work for the World Central Kitchen, who are aid workers, who were in Gaza, many of whom are international citizens. And so yeah, we're going to be moving on to that quickly after this speech, which I forgot we had. But UN Chief Antonio Guterres condemns this strike on Iranian consulate in Syria. So let's hear him speak and then move on to this other situation that's been fucking happening today. It's crazy how much bullshit has happened today. It's killing me.
Iran says the U.S. must be held accountable for the attack on its consulate building in Damascus. It blames Israel for the strike, which killed 2 senior commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, as well as 11 other people. The supreme leader has released a statement expressing his condolences. He also says, quote, "The vicious Zionist regime will be punished at the hands of Iran's brave men, and it will be made to regret having committed these crimes." Dorsa Jabari has more on this from Tehran.
A strong response. That is what Iran is promising after its consulate section in Damascus was hit by allegedly Israeli airstrikes, killing 7 military commanders in the Revolutionary Guard, 2 of them brigadier generals, one of the highest.
Okay, we've definitely gone over that information, but I know somewhere in here the speech for Antonio Guterres is discussed. There it is. There it is. Found it. Okay. This is the part I wanted to watch.
In Damascus. A spokesman for Antonio Guterres said in a statement that diplomatic and consular premises and personnel must always be protected according to international law. And the UN has called for utmost restraint to prevent escalation in an already volatile region, as any miscalculation could lead to broader conflict. Well, the United Nations Security Council will be meeting next hour.
Okay. Moving on to the story that we were just talking about. This is the first one of a series of stories that we're going to look at from different outlets. Well, reports from different outlets regarding this particular story. Start with this one. Aid group says Israeli strike killed its workers in Gaza, including foreigners, as the Associated Press from 23 hours ago. You can see a British passport, a Russian, a Ukrainian passport, a Polish passport. Hold on. I can't make out what the other passport is.
يا حبيبي يا سيف الله يرحمه نيال الله يرحمه ويتقبله يا حبيبي يا سيف الله يرحمه من وين جاوا المساعدات؟
So people from other countries who went to Gaza to try and help people who are starving.
Hello, I'm Asli Mashiri.
Who are being bombed.
Welcome to.
Who are being genocided, and now they've been massacred in a clear violation of international law. This next piece is from BBC. Not going to watch the whole thing. But charity suspends Gaza aid work after staff killed in Israeli strike. How many times have we heard this? How many times have we heard this? Like from UNRWA, from the UN themselves, from the World Food Collective, or whatever it's called. God damn it. It's just time and time again. When you have the people who are constantly in these sort of war-torn situations saying we can't be there anymore, it's red flag.
We start in the Middle East. The aid organization World Central Kitchen, that's based in the US, says it's immediately suspending its operations in Gaza after an airstrike killed 7 of its workers. The organization says those killed are from Australia, Poland, the United Kingdom, a dual citizen of the US and Canada, as well as a Palestinian. In a statement, it said the convoy was hit as it was leaving the Deir al-Bala warehouse after unloading aid, and that it had coordinated movements with the IDF. It said, quote, "This is not only an attack against WCK."
So in case you didn't hear that, or you're, somehow otherwise distracted. She just said, for fuck's sake. Sorry, chat. I'm losing my mind.
This is an attack.
I'm just gonna let her say it again. I'm not even gonna say it. Just listen to her very carefully.
Its workers. The organisation says those killed are from Australia, Poland, the United Kingdom, a dual citizen of the US and Canada, as well as a Palestinian. In a statement, it said the convoy was hit as it was leaving the Deir al-Bala warehouse after unloading aid, and that it had coordinated movements with the IDF. It said, quote, "This is not only an attack against WCK, this is an attack on humanitarian organisations showing up in the most dire of situations where food is being used as a weapon of war. This is unforgivable." Of course.
So, in case you didn't pick up on what I was trying to get at, I was struggling to come up with the words for. She just said twice now that they coordinated with the IDF, meaning by radio, by phone, by some sort of system, told them that they were going to a place, right? And they gave them their coordinates, it sounds like, and their route, and then got bombed. And bombed by bombs that probably just got sent there from America.
Denies that it is using food as a weapon of war. Now, earlier, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has confirmed one Australian woman, Zomi Francom, was among those killed. Graham Satchell has this report.
The bodies of aid workers being taken to a hospital in central Gaza. They worked for the charity World Central Kitchen. They were travelling in armoured cars branded with their charity logo when they were hit by an Israeli airstrike. The charity says 7 were killed from all corners of the world: Britain, Poland, Australia, America, Canada and Palestine.
Hey, this is Zomi and Chef Olivier. We're at the Galactic kitchen.
The smiling face of Australian Zomi Francom, one of those who lost their lives. She'd been working in Gaza helping to organise the supply and preparation of food. The Australian government is demanding answers.
The truth is that this is beyond any reasonable circumstances. Someone going about providing aid and humanitarian assistance should lose their life.
This is a video produced by the charity. It is one of the biggest providers of food aid in Gaza and has delivered more than 42 million meals since last October. In a statement, the Israeli
42 million meals. Without that, Palestinians would have already been starving to death in droves rather than in drabs.
said it was conducting a review at the highest level to understand the circumstances of what it called a tragic incident. But the deaths have been condemned by the founder of the charity, Jose Andres. He said, "The Israeli government needs to stop this indiscriminate killing. It needs to stop restricting humanitarian aid, stop killing civilians and aid workers, and stop using food as a weapon."
Okay, we got a bunch more to look through here. And if you wanted to watch that whole thing, it's like 10 minutes long, BBC. But I just want to keep pushing through this because there's a bunch more context we need for the situation. And to be able to put full... Anyway, let's just watch this next piece. Where Israel's military expresses quote-unquote sincere sorrow over the death of aid workers in a apparent strike. Oh, this one's fucking sucky.
Last night, an incident took place.
What is happening? Sorry, champ. Getting stressed. Internet shit the bed. That's no good. That's no good. My my thing is doing some weird shit right now as well. I'm not sure why. Okay, there we go. Fixed it. Well, sorry to force you to watch this, but here we go.
Last night, an incident took place in Gaza that resulted in the tragic death of World Central Kitchen employees as they fulfilled their vital mission of bringing food to...
I don't have a sound shot for this. What in the fuck is this guy? What? We're supposed to believe that... Is it literally impossible to believe anything that he's saying right now? But who is it that he's trying to talk to right now that isn't going to be completely outraged by the sentiment of this, by the suggestion that Israel takes seriously the aid getting to Gazans? It feels like a parody. It's so... Jesus Christ.
...really need. As a professional military committed to international law, we are committed to examining our operations thoroughly and transparently. I just spoke to WCK.
So if you're not getting what he's saying they're going to investigate themselves to figure out what happened. Okay, well...
I got boxes full of Pepe!
Founder, Chef Jose Anders, and expressed the deepest condolences of Israel Defense Forces to the families and the entire World Central Kitchen family. We also express sincere sorrow to our allied nations who have been doing and continue to do so much to assist those in need.
Okay, I'm not going to force you to watch the rest of that, okay? I think it's pretty obvious that everything this guy is saying is contrary to the truth. It's contrary to what Israel has been doing this whole fucking time. And it is real gross. And sorry to have subjected you to that for under a minute, but it just felt necessary to hear what it is they're suggesting as truth, which is obviously completely counterfactual to reality. Let's listen to some more counterfactual words from Benjamin Netanyahu, who says Israel unintentionally struck aid workers.
The World Central Kitchen is pausing its Gaza operations after 7 of its workers were killed in an airstrike, leaving even fewer options for Palestinians on the brink of famine. They had just finished unloading 100 tons of food at a warehouse in central Gaza when the group says their cars were hit by an Israeli strike. Here's what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
Unfortunately, in the last day, there was a tragic incident where our forces unintentionally struck innocent people in the Gaza Strip. It happens in war, and we are thoroughly investigating it. We are in contact with the governments and will do everything to prevent such occurrences in the future.
Well, World Central Kitchen...
Okay. Unintentional. Even though they were warned ahead of time, it looked nothing like a military vehicle, and I saw a picture of it. It had a giant emblem of the logo for the World Food Kitchen, or the World Central Food Kitchen, on the top of the truck that was bombed, right? Like, you couldn't mistake it for anything else unless you were just literally not giving a fuck, right? Anything that moves, right? No. Well, first off, it's obviously not a war. but you can't wage a war against a food kitchen, okay? Can't do it. Let alone the civilian population. But you know what I'm saying here? These people aren't even Palestinians. They were international aid workers. You can't wage war against although Israel is really trying their damnedest. Ah, God. I'm somewhere between laughing and crying right now. Okay, moving forward. Let's skip this one. Oh, yay. I get to skip one. I feel so good. Al Jazeera English, 11 hours ago. Blinken urges Israel to investigate killing of the aid workers in Gaza. You know, we might not even have to watch this one either. This is so stupid.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is calling on the Israeli government to carry out an investigation into the killing of the aid workers.
Have a situation where people who are simply trying to help their fellow human beings are themselves at grave risk. We've spoken directly to the Israeli government about this particular incident. We've urged a swift, a thorough, an impartial investigation to understand exactly what happened.
Heidi Jo Castro joins us now.
Wait, hold on.
World Central
Let's watch that. Let's watch that again. That was theater. Amazing. But first, let's
calling on the Israeli government to carry out an investigation into the killing of the aid workers.
Have a situation where people who are simply trying to help their fellow human beings are themselves at great risk. We've spoken directly to the Israeli government about this particular.
Oh my fucking God. Okay, that's really all I wanted from that one. Incredibly frustrating to hear the United States government telling Israel to investigate itself. But did he say unbiased? What was the phrase he used in a? Either way, the word that was used was complete nonsense. It's like asking the cops to investigate themselves. Did you do it? No. Okay, let's move on. And yeah, it's completely fucking ridiculous to suggest that Israel will be capable of investigating itself and finding anything other than they did a great job and they were super careful about stuff. And it's basically the aid workers' fault for getting in the way of their bombs, which we just gave them. Super rude. Waste of a bomb. Ugh, God. I am like sick. Like I'm literally like feeling sick to my stomach. It is disgusting. Let's wake up, okay? Freaking Blinken, pal. Fuck me. All right, here is John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre discussing this same thing. Everybody's gotten in on this, so let's hear their amazing take.
The president's call, he called Chef Jose Andres to express that he's heartbroken by this news of the airstrike that killed 7 aid workers and to express and share his deepest condolences. The president felt it was important to recognize the tremendous contribution World Central Kitchen has made to the people in Gaza and people around the world. The president conveyed he will make clear to Israel that humanitarian aid workers must be protected.
We were outraged to learn of an IDF strike.
I'm pretty sure they already said that like multiple times. Do you think that Israel didn't hear that first time? You think they weren't paying attention and you just gotta say it multiple times like a little kid? It's like, oh no, what did I say? No, you can't touch the cookies. You know, no. They heard us. They're completely going against it. That's all. And preventing it just happened again for like the 30th time.
That killed a number of civilian humanitarian workers yesterday from the World Central Kitchen, which has been relentless in working to get food to those who are hungry in Gaza and quite frankly around the world. We send our deepest condolences to their families and loved ones. We've seen the comments from Prime Minister Netanyahu and from the Israeli Defense Force.
hearing condolences from a government that just provided the bombs that killed the aid workers in this tragedy is just, it's beyond Twilight Zone. Fuck you.
About their commitment to conduct an investigation. As we understand it, a preliminary investigation has been completed today and presented to the Army Chief of Staff, and we'll obviously look to see what they discover in this preliminary one. But we expect a broader.
Why do we're gonna wait for Israel to let us know whether or not they committed a war crime? Wow, yeah, that's a great strategy. Should yield incredible results.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Investigation to be conducted and to be done so in a swift and comprehensive manner. We hope that those findings will be made public and that there is appropriate accountability held.
Why would the U.S.
Look, that thing is covered in World Kitchen logos.
not more forcefully set conditions on the use of U.S.-made weaponry when it is being used to target aid workers?
First of all, there's an investigation going on. So why don't we let
an Israeli investigation into whether or not they're obviously committing war crimes, which they will say, no, definitely not.
Get done, and why don't we see what they find in terms of the decision-making process that led to this terrible outcome? Prime Minister and the IDF have noted that it was their error. If you don't like the word mistake, their error. They're investigating it. Let them do that work, and let them see what they come up with.
Yeah, okay. All right. Everybody, relax. Israel is figuring it out. We're getting way ahead of things right now. We just need to chill out. 7 international citizens, non-Palestinians. 6. You just got massacred by Israel and literally nobody else. There's zero explanation for this aside from Israel and the IDF hating Palestinians and hating Palestinians getting aid. I'm pretty sure they were 100% aware. It's real hard to say you're not aware of things when you have incredible technology that can easily identify targets. You have forewarning from the group that you just attacked, and it's all public knowledge. How are you going to convince people such as us that that's anything other? Even people that are even less less knowledgeable as people in this chat. How dumb do you have to be to accept that narrative? Pretty dumb, I think. Let's watch this next one. It's a short video entitled "Aid Worker Killed in Gaza, Remembered as a Humanitarian Hero."
So I always told Zomi that she was my personal humanitarian hero. I was continuously amazed by her positivity and her ability to stay joyful and warm and caring in spite of all the horrible things she must have constantly seen in her work.
Zami Frankum was working for World Central Kitchen in Gaza.
The world's in a really bad place right now.
Whoops, sorry, I read that too slow. Working in Gaza when she and 6 others were killed.
The world's in a really bad place right now, and I think that probably Zomi would want, her friends and colleagues to keep going with the work. And yeah, for me, it makes me want to just dedicate myself even more to, just try to follow in her footsteps.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I don't know what it is, but I can watch literal massacres, but someone starts crying in front of me, and I'm like, oh no. Don't do that. Alright, no. I'm fine. Let's watch this next video. Or at least a part of it. This is from CBC from 4 hours ago. The political fallout of Israel's quote-unquote unintentional strike on aid convoy.
The Middle East is reeling from two major military strikes on Monday. A convoy of aid workers in Gaza was fired upon by Israeli forces. World Central Kitchen says 7 of its employees were killed in the strike.
You see, this is what I was talking about. This is one of the videos that shows it in full detail. The logo is the size of the roof, okay? I don't know if you've ever seen like drone video or anything like that. It would be literally impossible not to pick this up on a drone, okay? Or like on a plane. Like you'd be able to see it with the technology that is available. They can easily see these kinds of targets, and the fact that it got hit with that. I mean, look, look, it was dead on. Pretty sure they knew what they were shooting at. A little hard to argue anything else.
Including nationals from Gaza, Australia, Britain, Poland, and a Canada-U.S. dual national. Many countries, including Canada, are condemning the strike and are calling on Israel to conduct a full and transparent investigation into the incident. Also struck on
It's going to be super transparent, milky transparency.
a building in Syria's capital. Iran says Israeli warplanes targeted Iranian officials in Damascus, killing 7 senior officers. Among those killed, 3 Iranian generals, including the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds forces. The Israeli military is declining to comment on the deadly strike. Iran, however, is threatening to retaliate. So there's a lot to talk about. And joining
Sorry, chat. I just realized I forgot to cue this one up. Son of a bitch. Where did they talk about the aid convoy? I totally forget. This is too much. It's too much. It's too much, chat. It's fucking killing me right now. You know what? I think we get the point. We don't need to see more. We've discussed the ramifications. We've discussed it's not a good look for Israel. It's literally impossible to deny. And the fact that America's trying to pretend like they're gonna do a unbiased, transparent investigation is maybe one of the biggest cases of either gaslighting or naivete that I've ever heard of in governmental. No, maybe I'm going to. That might be hyperbolic, but it's close. It is competing for first place. Fuck. What's next? Skip this shit. Okay, Middle East Eye. 8 hours ago, Matthew Miller asked about the logic behind the U.S. sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. That's an interesting question. I should look into that.
You talked about the 2,000-pound bombs and so on. You think that it is really wise to send it at this time? You know, when this far in this battle, you know, or this war, it has only been used in Gaza. I mean, I know you say...
What in the fuck just happened? Hold on. What do I have open right now? And why is my computer having a revolt? The fuck? Hold on, chat. I hate this software. It's free, but it is sometimes very, very annoying. It does things that I don't appreciate. Like this, where I'm now locked. Oh, wait for it, maybe. Maybe it wants to try. Hold on. We're gonna have to. Hold on. I'm just because I think this might take a second for it to. I'm just gonna play this. Sorry, chat. Wow. This is fun. I love that. Love that for me. Yes, rest that back there, Bella. NBD. It's more important to take care of yourself. Oh my god. I'm not sure what to do about this situation. God. We've got more stuff to cover right now. I've got like a bunch more stuff. And yet, my computer is shitting the bed. When am I going to be interviewed by Matt Strackman? I have no idea. I don't anticipate that happening. But maybe it'll happen. I don't know. Oh my god, is it decided to work now? Wait for it. Wait for it, chat. Yes, it's working. Oh my god. Fuck you. Finally. Oh, that was so annoying. That was so annoying to me. Okay. Now let's get through the rest of this stuff. Let me just get my bearings again. What were we doing? Right, okay. This is Matt Miller, the spokesperson for... Shit, let me turn the music down. There we go. Sorry, Streamlord. Why are you sorry? For what would you be sorry? I don't understand why you would have any reason to ever be sorry. Okay, let's listen to Matt Miller responding to questions about the U.S. continuing to send massive 2,000-pound bombs to Israel.
You talked about the 2,000-pound bombs and so on. You think that it is really wise to send it at this time? You know, when this far in this battle, you know, or this war, it has only been used in Gaza. I mean, I know you say that Israel is surrounded by, you know, people that wish it well and so on. But in fact, it's surrounded by Egypt with very good relations with Israel, surrounded by Jordan with good relations with Israel, surrounded by Syria that is obviously embroiled in its own civil war and cannot even defend itself against attacks as we have seen today. So, quite the contrary, Israel is surrounding Hamas and it's using these weapons to do that. And in fact, I mean, you know, the F-35, to the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong, has only been used in combat against the people of Gaza. So how could you justify sending all these weapons when you have the most hapless people probably on earth, you know, destroyed, moving from one place to another and so on, and you send these weapons to sort of just finish the job or continue the job? I don't know.
So,
what logic is there in sending those weapons?
So the logic is exactly what I outlined a moment ago. Despite the fact that Israel has diplomatic relations with Egypt and Jordan, it does not change the fact that Hezbollah is parked on its northern border and is sworn to the destruction of Israel. It does not change the fact that Iran, not right on its border, but well within striking distance, is committed to the destruction of Israel and continues to fund proxies committed to the destruction of Israel. So yes, Israel faces incredibly serious threats, not just from Hamas, although Hamas is clearly one, as we saw on October 7th, but from other adversaries.
Wow. Matt Miller doing his best dance to explain the handing over of an incredible amount of firepower to Israel with no real acceptable explanation in sight. Okay, this next video we're going to watch is from Democracy Now! From 14 hours ago, entitled Active Duty U.S. Airmen, inspired by Aaron Bushnell, on hunger strike outside White House over Gaza.
to an active duty member of the U.S. Air Force who started a hunger strike Sunday outside the White House to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Senior Airman Larry Hebert has been holding a sign that reads, "Active duty airman refuses to eat while Gaza starves." He's on day 3 of his hunger strike while on leave from his duty station in Spain. Larry says he was inspired in part by the actions of Aaron Bushnell, the 25-year-old active duty member of the U.S. Air Force who set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. in February to demand a Gaza ceasefire. He died. Senior Airman Larry Hebert joins us now from Washington, D.C., where he's also hoping to meet with members of Congress. He's a member of Veterans for Peace. Larry, welcome to Democracy Now! Can you explain your hunger strike in front of the White House?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for having me on, ma'am. I appreciate it. So my hunger strike is obviously in solidarity with the...
That's the thing about prior lives, Chris Garrett. I don't think you get any sort of knowledge of them, no matter how much you meditate. So I would have no way of knowing if I was ever a night FM host, a radio program.
Civilians in Gaza, you know, no, it's just completely wrong and immoral for, you know, civilians to be starved and bombed and targeted in any manner. So that's what the hunger strike is specifically for.
Oh, this poor guy. Taking this whole thing on himself. And I mean, I support him. But you can see it in his eyes. He's, you know, I no criticisms of this choice. It's just frustrating to see people doing it on their own. I feel like he deserves as much support as we can give him.
And Larry, you took an authorized leave from your assignment at your naval station in Spain to do this protest. How did you get the permission, and what's been the response of your superiors?
Well, to take authorized leave, that's earned just through, you know, continuing my service. So there's no specifics on what I have to provide them as far as what I'll be doing on leave. You know, just that I am taking leave and where roughly I am going.
Have you gotten response from them, given what you're doing as you stand in front of the White House conducting your hunger strike?
I've had a couple members from my command reach out, and I expect to speak to my commander fairly soon, yeah.
You want to become a conscientious objector?
Yes, I mean, I think that's one of the routes that can be taken. While that process is going, if my command wants to work with me and work out a deal where I'm in either a reassignment or possibly some sort of mutual discharge, I would accept that as well.
And you've mentioned the tragedy of Aaron Bushnell and how that affected your outlook and decision. Could you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, so what Aaron did was courageous and emotional. For me, it really resonated because, you know, what he was feeling was exactly how I was feeling. And obviously, I'm not going to that extent. I don't think anyone needs to. I think what he did was unique and you know, was effective. But what really infuriated me was the silence thereafter his actions. I don't know a single member of our government or leaders in the military that really spoke on Aaron, even uttered his name. But I had seen, people in Yemen and in Gaza and, holding up his picture and sending their condolences. And I even saw the official statement from Hamas, who is a deliberate enemy of our military and our government. They issued an official statement sending their condolences to Aaron and his family. So it really broadened my perspective to see, even our adversaries speaking out and sending their condolences to our own military members.
Do you have a message,
Hold on, I guess we'll...
Larry, for other members of the military in the United States or other militaries around what's going on right now in Gaza? And as you stand in front of the White
The silence was deafening. Yeah. I mean, our command, just trying to make a command commemorating his death and his decision, his protest, took I think an hour and a half to figure out how to get around it, because it was being literally silenced on YouTube.
House and hope to speak to Congress members in Washington, D.C. What is your message?
I hope, firstly, that with Aaron's actions and the members of the State Department that spoke out recently and myself, I'm hoping that other active duty members will be more public with their concern over the atrocities happening in Gaza. It's not even a political issue at this point. It's civilian lives that are on the line, and they're being bombed, shot, raped, and starved. There's a mass starving going on, and it's unconscionable.
Okay. All right. That's all we're going to watch of that one. It's pretty tough, but felt necessary. Larry Hebert is his name. Next one is last video, but is, I think, arguably maybe the most fun of all the videos. This, which I've been holding on in my back pocket, is from 10 hours ago with one of my least favorite channels on YouTube, Piers Morgan Uncensored. This is entitled, "Will You Give Any Condemnation of Hamas? Israel-Palestine Debate. Abby Martin versus Emily Schrader." You heard me right, folks. Abby Martin.
I got boxes full of Pepe!
Do you think that Hamas is a terrorist organization?
Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization? Genocidal intent. This is usually one of the hardest things to prove in a case of genocide. Not the case in Israel's genocide in Gaza.
So you're happy to believe those numbers?
Of course I'm happy to believe those numbers.
Israel needs to be held accountable and stopped immediately because it's the gravest crime against humanity that a state can commit.
Israel isn't interested in occupying Gaza in any sort of permanent way. That is not something we want. I'm
That's
not a Netanyahu spokesperson.
Well, he should be tried at The Hague and put in The Hague.
That's a different question.
Boom.
Different question. But you say you can't interfere in Palestinian politics, but you're very prepared to interfere in Israeli politics.
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Genocide, not a word to be used lightly. In recent months, a term which means to deliberately kill people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying said nation or group has been levelled at Israel for its treatment of the war in Gaza. The Israeli government has repeatedly denounced the accusation, despite the ICJ ruling in January that it was plausible that genocide could be taking place. Over 32,000 Palestinians, mostly children, are believed to have been killed since the horrific attack on October the 7th. A new report from the United Nations says there are reasonable grounds that Israel has carried out acts of genocide in Gaza. This debate will rage on long after this war is over, as will whether or not Netanyahu and the Israeli government.
By the way, chat, I just want you to take note of something during this debate, and it doesn't stay true for the whole thing, but I want you to pay attention to Piers lately, because I think we've watched a few of these Israel-Palestine debates, or at least I think most of us, at least through watching other channels, not necessarily just this channel, but I think we've all seen him defend Israel to some degree for at least a portion of this genocide, massacre, wider conflict spreading in the Middle East. But his tone has changed a little bit, I would point out, but not entirely.
Need to be held to account for their actions. Strong voices and opinions rage on both sides, none more fervent than those of my next two guests. I'm joined by the American-Israeli commentator Emily Schrader and the journalist and filmmaker Abby Martin. Well, welcome to both of you. Abby Martin, let me start with you. To me, genocide would mean the wholesale destruction of a people because of their ethnicity. That's how I've always understood genocide to mean. There is a internationally recognized 5-point guide to what is genocide. It says killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. By that definition, do you believe that what's happened in Gaza constitutes genocide?
I do, and I think that the fact that this debate is raging on shows that what Israel is doing is egregious enough. The fact that people are actually having a debate on whether or not it is genocide, like you said, the International Court of Justice has agreed that there's a plausible case for genocide. I think that you just clearly articulated several factors that Israel is, in fact, carrying out. The mental bodily harm and carrying about conditions to destroy a group of people. Clearly, the complete siege on Gaza, the elimination or the prevention, rather, of water, food, electricity, the prevention of aid, widespread preventable illnesses, killing people. Now we see 2 million people on the brink of starvation. Clearly, these are all intended to destroy a group of people. When you compound that with the indiscriminate bombing in the most densely populated places on Earth, I would absolutely constitute that as genocidal killing. And then Piers, compound that with the fact that there's genocidal intent. This is usually one of the hardest things to prove in a case of genocide. Not the case in Israel's genocide in Gaza. We have 5 pages just in the ICJ ruling that clearly lay out the explicit intent to carry out genocide. And I'll just point to 2. The Israeli president, who said shortly after October 7th that no civilian in Gaza is innocent. And that they should have overthrown Hamas, and because they didn't, they are essentially worth, killing. And then you have the defense minister shortly after October 7th that these are human animals, and we need to act accordingly, as he announced the complete siege of Gaza. So taking all that into account, I would absolutely constitute what is happening is genocide, and Israel needs to be held accountable and stopped immediately because it's the gravest crime against humanity that a state can commit.
Okay, Emily Schrader, I mean, this.
Blam. Man, it's so nice to hear Abby Martin go uninterrupted on Gaza, like deep dive for like whatever that was, 2.5 minutes. so cathartic.
No doubt that if you study the direct quotes from some members of Netanyahu's cabinet, they are certainly speaking in a genocidal way. There's no question. There's enough of that being said since October the 7th. There's also a fact.
I actually would dispute that. I actually take issue with some of the comments that she made. For example, when we're talking about human animals, it was specific in the context, and if you understand Hebrew, you know that the context of this was speaking specifically about Hamas terrorists.
Look at Abby Martin's face when she makes that claim. It is one of the dumbest, things I've ever heard. First off, I'm just going to point this out. There's been plenty of people who do speak Hebrew that have translated the statements and they've been put out, and that's what they were saying. But nobody speaks Hebrew. It's like saying you speak Latin, okay? Like, even Like most of the Jewish people I know have forgotten all of the Hebrew that they learned in Hebrew school, going up to their bar bat mitzvah. That was the end of Hebrew for them. They did the thing. Now they're done, right? Nobody speaks fluent Hebrew. There's like 8 million Hebrew speakers, like 9 million, like in the world or something like that. It's like a tiny amount. Most of them live in Israel, right? And the rest of them are like rabbis. It's nuts. And like for her to suggest you have to be a Hebrew speaker in order to somehow decipher it, like it's a nonsense argument.
I would agree with that description.
Even Piers looks very skeptical about it.
Of course, not all Palestinians are human animals, and Palestinian civilians, there are many innocent people. However, as President Herzog said, it is also true that there is a certain degree of complicity with many of the people of Gaza. Now, does that mean that they deserve to die, as she stated? No.
Does it need the air quotes? Seems so disrespectful.
Of course not. But it's not the same thing as being innocent either.
But that would imply that there are no innocent people in the Palestinian side.
Oh,
I don't think that it's true that there's no innocent people.
Isn't that
I
what
think
you just
that there's
effectively...
When you have Piers Morgan checking you on that, you're in trouble.
I think that there is a certain degree of complicity with many of the population.
How
As
many?
we see in the polls, according to their polls, a Palestinian conducted poll,
How many?
over 70% of the people in Gaza support the actions of October 7th. I wish it wasn't the case.
But Emily, you're
but
just
that is the
using
reality
that.
on
You're
the
just
ground.
using that poll. You're using that poll to paint all civilians as guilty. Do you realize that?
I
when
am
you do that,
absolutely
you're
not.
dehumanizing
I literally
Palestinians.
stated the opposite.
Yes, you are.
I said 70%.
You're saying that because
I said 70%.
Emily?
Of course there are innocent Palestinians.
So what does that mean?
But
you're rationalizing collective punishment and starvation of 2 million people, 1 million kids. That's what you're rationalizing by saying that 70% agree with the actions of October.
That's 100% what she's saying, because it was in response to the claim that it was a genocide, because apparently they support Hamas ideologically, and therefore they deserve to be massacred and genocided. Okay, you're not losing it completely.
Trucks of humanitarian aid have entered Gaza. Some of them that are being stopped right now on the border are actually being prevented from entering by Egypt, not by Israel. Israel has inspected them and approved them. Furthermore, the reason that aid isn't being distributed properly isn't because of Israel, it's because of Hamas, who has been taking the aid, shooting Palestinian civilians.
Oh, it's all Hamas's fault. Okay. Wow. I feel like her roots are the last thing that I'm here to criticize. Not important. I think that's what you're referring to, at least. You're talking about her hair. Her words are much worse than her hair.
Inside of Gaza, and this is according to Palestinian statements on social media in Arabic who have been speaking about this, and then taking that.
All right, let's just move it forward until she stops talking. She says a lot of dumb stuff.
70%.
Emily.
Hang on a sec, Abby. So 70% of people in Palestine are of this view. 50% of that population are under 18. They're children. So are you including large numbers of children in your assessment that Palestinians all believe this way?
I don't believe that the statistics of that poll, how they conducted it, included children. However, I don't know, so I would have to investigate that.
It didn't include children, then that doesn't include half the people in Gaza. And that's...
According to whose statistics? According to the Gaza Ministry of Health?
According to whose statistics? Oh, God. This woman is trying her freaking dick off right now to make this argument. But it is not going well.
Controlled by Hamas?
No. Half the population.
Because even this 30,000 number is coming from Hamas.
I realise that, but it hasn't been disputed by other agencies. And historically, the Hamas figures through the Palestinian Health Authority have been broadly proven to be accurate over time, which
30,000 casualties, and they're claiming that none of them are combatants. How is that accurate?
That's not.
First off, I don't think he even refutes this, but first off, they aren't claiming that none of them are combatants. That's nonsense and has no basis in fact or statistics, numbers, reality. Adults have a hard time understanding that children can be evil. Ruby Frankie. Oh, that's so twisted. Oh my god, Monov, that is incredibly twisted. Oh. I'm pretty sure that's not a verbatim quote from Ruby Frankie, but it's definitely on brand. Oh, fuck. Did she actually say that, though? If she did, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. If people in chat aren't familiar with who Ruby Frankie is, she's that woman. She's that influencer from, was it Arizona or New Mexico? Like one of those places. And she had like 1 million+ followers, I think, on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. For like doing some pretty creepy shit to her kids. And then like locked them up. And then apparently, if I recall correctly, like her son escaped like the child prison that she had in her giant mansion and went to a neighbor's house, which blew open this whole situation. And like the cops went to her house and found that like there was other kids in there, and oh god. Oh wow. I wasn't expecting a Ruby Frankie quote, I'll be honest. Totally threw me off.
It makes sense.
That's not the number I'm talking about. The number I'm talking about is if half the population of Gaza is under 18, then saying that 70% of the people in Gaza have a view would have to include a lot of children, right? And if you don't include the children, you don't include half the population, well, then you're talking about a narrow number of people. Comparative.
Sure, but you also have to consider the fact that Hamas is actively recruiting and indoctrinating youth with this very extremist jihadist ideology, and it's child abuse. It's an unfortunate reality that Palestinian children are dealing with.
Why we're killing 12, 13,000 innocent children, whatever the exact number is superfluous to the general proportionate effect that so many kids have been killed.
I don't agree with these numbers.
Well, how
at
many
all.
do you think have been killed?
We don't know. We do not know at this
and
point.
yet you're
but
very
also,
happy on the Israel side.
You have to consider the fact that there are many of them
let me ask you a
between
question.
the ages of 14 to 17
How many Hamas,
who are members of Hamas.
One thing that Piers doesn't ask here, if I'm not mistaken, I watched the whole thing, but it was at like 1.5, so I'm not 100% on everything that everybody said. But if I'm not mistaken, Piers doesn't push back on this point at all. Well, at least not in the way that I would, because the fact is that there's been plenty of examples of underage Israelis being recruited into the IDF. In fact, high schoolers all sign up before they're even adults to become IDF. So the comparison is almost 1-to-1, to be honest. Not quite, maybe, but fucking close enough. And she just tries to pretend like, oh no, IDF, all adults.
I've seen that proven.
How many Hamas terrorists have been killed?
We don't know, at least 9,000 though.
So you're happy to believe those numbers?
How many people believe those numbers?
You're happy to believe those numbers?
Of course I'm happy to
Why?
believe those numbers. Because Israel is a democratic country with the rule of law, and they hold people accountable when they violate those laws.
Right, okay. I mean, you see, I think the problem with questioning the numbers from the Palestinian Health Authority is that most other agencies, independent agencies, broadly agree.
Oh, fuck. James Fox, you just got hit by a tornado? Damn, I'm sorry to hear that. We were watching we were looking into this, and I didn't see anything when I was going to the stream that any tornadoes had touched down at that point, but fuck. That happened? See, I mean, it's never a guarantee that a tornado is going to come down, but there was definitely signs that this was going to happen. I think we talked about it either yesterday or 2 days ago. Well, stay safe. Stay safe. I hope everything pulls together for you.
That these numbers are about right. And if they're right, then 12,000, 13,000 children have been killed. And I would argue that it's very hard to see how the radicalization issue that the Israelis talk about will not be exacerbated by killing 13,000 innocent kids.
Right, and can I just address some of the points she made, because they're all just egregious lies. I mean, she's a paid propagandist for the state of Israel. I think that we should
kind
get
of
that
like
out of
you
the way.
being a paid
Egypt,
propagandist
Emily,
for Putin,
Emily.
or defending the Chinese Communist
Putin.
Party.
You know
or
what?
defending
Emily,
the Chinese
Emily,
Communist Party
Emily,
against
let me
the
speak.
crimes they're committing against the people of
Emily,
Hong Kong.
let me speak.
Let Abby talk.
Let me speak. Emily, let me speak. You just spoke just flagrant lies for the last minute. When I was on this show 10 years ago, I was actually speaking out against RT on Russia Today. Can you say the same? I'm a completely independent journalist. You are literally a paid propagandist for the Israeli military.
That
you just had the
is
audacity
libel.
to sit
I
down
have
with an
never
Israeli
received
military
any funds
official.
from the Israeli military, and I would be happy
So
to
you
sue
just were
over
working
it.
for free? You literally said that you worked for the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, that you've worked with Stand With Us, which is an appendage of the Israeli government. Let me
No, it's
address
not.
the things that you just threw out there, which are lies. Yes, of course, they received grants from the Knesset.
No, they don't.
Emily,
that is
you are
absolutely
lying.
false.
Egypt, Israel has... Look it up on the internet, Emily. I'm not sure why you're lying
I
again,
worked
but
there.
this is
I'm
what you
pretty
guys
sure
do.
I
You
know.
deflect, you
They
lie,
have
you
never
smear.
received funding from
Emily,
the
we
Israeli
can't just
government.
keep
It's not
speaking over
legal.
each other the entire
It's not
time.
legal. Then stop
Emily,
lying, Abby.
please let me
stop
speak.
lying.
Israel has bragged the fact that Egypt just follows their orders, okay? So we know that the aid is being prevented not only by fanatical Israelis who are blocking the aid trucks proudly, but from Israel themselves, Emily. And we know that almost as many civilians have been shot by Israeli forces just trying to scavenge for aid and food than civilians have died on October 7th.
That is blatantly
This is
false.
regular routine massacres.
Those are just
routine
facts. Those are just fucking facts. Oh, this lady is such a propagandist.
Then civilians have died on October
That is
7th.
blatantly
This is
false.
regular routine massacres that are happening of just desperate, starving Palestinians that are amassing to seek food. Is there anything that is more depraved than that?
That's
than to
absolutely
shoot
false. Earlier
desperate
this week, 7
people
million,
seeking
7
food?
million
You can't,
pounds of
you can't
food.
just
Food
keep saying
alone entered
Hamas.
Gaza. 7 million pounds
You-
in one
and
day.
there's
Let me
500
try if I can.
500
Let me
trucks
try
per
and
day
bring
should
to-
be getting in.
I want to come
500
back
trucks
to,
per day.
Let me if I can, bring it back to the debate, which is about the genocide. On March the 26th.
If I was this lady, I'd be scared. I'd be scared, even with the IDF's backing. Do you see Abby's eyes right now? They're on fire. If you look deeply into them, you can see a small blaze with, like, I'm pretty sure if we zoomed in here, you see like the Elmo in the fire emoji or GIF. You know what I'm talking about? Where like Elmo is just like lifting his arms up. Hold on, just for context, in case anybody's unfamiliar with this one. Actually, no, I don't want to switch it just in case I'm gonna fuck it up. So I'm just gonna do it this way. Fuck you, Streamlabs. Elmo fire. This right here. Elmo fire. This right here. This is what's in Abby's eyes right now. With this woman just like straight up lying to her face and claiming a bunch of nonsense. This is her. There's two little Elmos living inside of her eyes, saying, "Oh, you've stepped to the wrong woman."
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
2024 UN Human Rights Report called for Israel to be placed under an arms embargo on the grounds it has carried out acts of genocide in Gaza. Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territory, said in her report there were reasonable grounds to believe that Israel was carrying out 3 of the 5 acts, which I named earlier, defined as genocide. And she said these were killing Palestinians, causing them seriously bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the population in whole or in part. So to that point, Emily, just forget the ad hominem stuff for a moment. On this, you've got the UN, you've got the ICJ, you've got increasingly...
Just Piers Morgan wants us to get off the ad hominems for a moment. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen Piers actually try and do a half-decent job at moderating a debate before, ever. It feels weird.
The Americans actually trying to distance themselves from what's happening here, a growing sense that there is, if not full-blown genocide, a version of genocide happening here that meets quite a few criteria.
I mean, I think the definition of genocide requires intent to destroy a nation. And that is not what we're seeing. It's not what we've seen since day one. You have to remember the fact that this war was not started by Israel.
There was a cabinet minister who actually said he would be happy to drop a nuclear bomb on Gaza. That would have been the destruction
Well,
of the
there are
population.
plenty of stupid comments from many Israeli politicians that I don't agree
Right,
with.
but you said earlier that nobody on
But this is not the same thing.
earlier
We did not.
Oh, there's some comments she doesn't agree with. Yeah, that's good. That's helpful.
Start this
Emily, let
war.
me point-
This is not a war we
Emily,
wanted. It
I
is not a
understand.
war we started.
I've made that point very clear.
Furthermore,
Let me
Israel
finish.
does have the ability to commit genocide, and they are not.
Let me
Why
just-
would we send 17,000 trucks
That's
of
such
aid?
an abuser, crazy thing to say. You have a gun to the head of Palestinians saying we could commit genocide.
Hang on,
if we
don't all
wanted
talk
to.
over each other. I want
That's
to finish my
insane.
point about the cabinet member who said that was quite crystal.
I feel like we need to make an emoji of that look.
This is not a war we
Emily,
wanted. It
I
is not a
understand.
war we started.
I've made that point very clear.
Furthermore,
Let me
Israel
finish.
does have the ability to commit genocide, and they are not.
Let me
Why
just-
would we send 17,000 trucks
That's
of
such
aid?
an abuser,
Why would
crazy thing to say. You have a gun to the head of Palestinians saying we could commit genocide.
Hang on.
Almost. So close. God damn it.
Saying we could commit genocide.
Hang on, don't
Oh,
all
I
talk
can't
over
pause
each
it
other.
fast enough. Oh, I hate myself. I really want a picture of Abby Martin pointing her finger very vigorously. This is difficult. This is a struggle.
Crazy thing to say. You have a gun to the head of Palestinians saying we could commit genocide.
Hang on, don't
Oh, fuck me.
talk over each
I
other.
give up.
want to
I'll do
finish
it
my
later.
point about the cabinet member who said that was quite crystal clear in his genocidal intent. He thought it would be fine to drop a bomb, a nuclear bomb, on Gaza. You said earlier that nobody on the cabinet, nobody under Netanyahu,
You can't tell me that a picture of Abby Martin pointing her finger angrily wouldn't be a great emotional support character. Let's be real.
from the start of his war, had ever espoused any genocidal.
But I'm also being real. She's gonna be a high tier character. Like to achieve an Abby Martin finger point, that's gonna be like 50 or like 100 likes, something crazy.
Thoughts or statements. He did that, guy.
I didn't say that no one in
got
the
fired over
government
it.
has said that. I said that the quotes she specifically mentioned are
Right,
inaccurate.
but what about the guy who got fired specifically for saying that about
He
dropping a
should have
nuclear
been
bomb?
fired.
Right.
He
so,
should have been
so
fired.
do you accept there have been people with that mindset on the cabinet?
I
in-
think
in
that
Israel?
there are people who have made all kinds of egregious statements on both sides, and I can give you a few examples of genocidal intent if you want from the other side,
Well,
because
how-
that's really the only
we can-
side
we can-
that has proven
We
genocidal
can come to that. We can come to that. But on that point, do you accept
But who is it that can actually make a genocide happen? And in no way is it Palestinians. Not even close.
then that there are people in Israeli government, albeit he was fired for it, who have espoused genocidal sentiment? They have.
I don't know of anyone who is in the current Israeli government
Well, no,
that
you
would
got
support
fired.
any form of genocide.
Right.
Has anyone
Look at
ever?
the
Of
ICJ
course,
ruling.
people have on both
5
sides.
pages.
Okay, Abby?
5 pages. Yeah.
5 pages of people,
5
including
pages.
social media posts of celebrities, including some of the people I know. That doesn't qualify as a legitimate intent to carry.
She has like that face that just emotes so well. Like it's like you can almost hear what she's thinking when she doesn't even have to use her mouth. She just like looks at you in a certain way. You're like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying, Abby. You're right. You're correct.
About a genocide. They included one from a
Emily,
comedian
look
on
at the
there
Gaza
as well.
Strip.
Not
Emily,
to mention the fact that if we
Emily,
talk
look at
about the
Gaza Strip.
illegitimacy,
It's completely decimated. Every cultural aspect of life in Gaza has been completely obliterated to make it uninhabitable and unsurvivable for future generations there.
I mean, that is hard
That
to.
is
I mean, just to
genocidal,
say,
Emily.
that is hard to argue. When you look at what's happening
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
in northern Gaza in particular, it's pretty much been leveled.
I've been there.
What-
I've seen it with my own eyes.
Why would anyone expect regular Palestinians to be able to go back to homes that don't exist? Where are they going to go?
Many of them already have started going back, and they need to reconstruct Gaza the same way that they needed to reconstruct
Wow, just magically.
Gaza after 2021. But they're
Abby Martin's so pissed off by that sentence.
going to have to do so together with partners, whether it's Israel, the United States, or other Arab nations, in a post-Hamas reality. And if we're talking about the problem in
I feel like Abby is like contemplating what sort of witchcraft she can use to cast a curse on this woman, whether it be like a spell or some kind of a potion, or maybe even what's it called, like a voodoo doll or something like that. But it's like it is. It's a great squint. It's a squint of pure loathing.
Gaza and how the Palestinians are suffering, you cannot remove Hamas from this equation. Hamas is the group that has been persecuting the Palestinian people as well.
Well, that is true, Abby. I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question Hamas has been suppressing and oppressing its own people. I think that
She keeps like holding herself back because she's such a pro. But every time she says Emily like that, I just lose it. It's just so good. Like, I'm gonna stop pausing this. We have a lot to go.
they have become increasingly vocal in their desire to cause maximum damage to Israel and to Jewish people. They've said since October the 7th through their official spokesman that they will do this again and again and again. That actually is genocidal rhetoric. If you're pledging to destroy a people in as many numbers as you can, as often as you can, that is a form of genocide, isn't it?
Yes.
Look, what precipitated even the origin of Hamas? Hamas didn't just grow out of thin air. I mean, it was precipitated by
But what about my question, though?
decades of brutal occupation and ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, but what about my question?
The question whether or not Hamas is genocidal as, in its intent, I disagree. And Emily's saying, look, Hamas is reacting. They're an armed resistance group trying to fight for their liberation. I'm not justifying anything that they've done. The United States also called Nelson Mandela and the ANC a terrorist organization. I think they're an armed
Boom.
resistance group trying to fight for the liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're
I'm
a
not
terrorist
going to sit here and give an obligatory. Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a
I like how she gave up on even making the argument. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give out some obligatory condemnation of it. And she's fuck it. You know what? Are you gonna? Hold on. We got to go back and watch that again. I love you. I love you, Abby. Thank you for being so great. Okay.
This group trying to fight for the liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're
I'm
a
not going to
terrorist
sit here and give an
organization?
obligatory. Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a terrorist
Of course
organization?
not.
Well,
Can you answer my question? Do
yeah,
you
let's
think
agree to
Hamas is a
disagree.
terrorist
I
organization?
already did. I already did.
Do you
Let me
think-
explain something
Do you
to
think that the acts committed on October 7th were legitimate? You think that gang rape,
Do
that
you think
mass
that the acts
rape,
that Israel
sexual
did that
violence is a method of
precipitated
war? That's
October
legitimate?
Hang on. Look.
Do you think
look,
October
again, don't talk
6th,
about it.
5th,
Let me
4th,
Abby,
8th,
let me
9th,
ask you.
10th?
Let me ask you the question which
Oh boy, Abby wants to talk about history. I don't think this woman's prepared for that.
made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
Piers Morgan, you are.
Ours has been leveled.
Whoopsies. What did I just do? Holy fuck. What the fuck? I think it was right here. I think we're right around here. Sorry, chat. I just got completely distracted. Trying to pause that to make the point. What was I even making the point of? Oh, Piers Morgan. I was just making fun of Piers Morgan for being infamous for being a complete knobhead.
What I will do is condemn the roots.
I think it must have been further back. Hold on. Oh, son of a bitch. Go back.
Settle as in its intent, I disagree. And Emily's saying, look, Hamas is reacting. They're an armed resistance group trying to fight for their liberation.
Abby, do you
I'm
think
not
Hamas is a
justifying
terrorist
anything that they've
organization?
done. The United States also called Nelson Mandela and the ANC a terrorist organization. I
you
think they're an
think
armed
that Hamas
resistance
is a
group trying to
terrorist
fight for the
organization?
liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're
I'm
a
not going
terrorist
to sit here and give an
organization?
obligatory. Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a terrorist
Of course
organization?
not.
Well,
Can you answer my question? Do
yeah,
you
let's
think
agree to
Hamas is a
disagree.
terrorist
I
organization?
already did.
Do you
Let me
think-
explain something
Do you
to
think
you.
that the acts committed on October 7th were legitimate? You think that gang rape, that
Do you think
mass
that the
rape,
acts that Israel
sexual
did that
violence is a method of
precipitated
war? That's
October
legitimate?
Hang on. Look.
Do you think
look, again,
October
don't talk about
6th,
it.
5th,
Let me
4th,
Abby,
8th,
let me ask
9th,
you. Let me ask you the question
Yeah.
which has made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas.
It was a terrorist attack of appalling magnitude.
Of what I think.
Surely on pure humanity grounds.
Piers, listen.
You cannot watch the devastating murder of 1,200 people and not say it was a despicable terror act and condemn the people who did it.
Look, listen, I'm not going to give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas. What I will do is condemn the policies that precipitate violence. What I will do is condemn the roots of the violence, because inevitably you will have blowback when you deny millions of people basic human rights. And they're living under brutal medieval siege and barbaric military occupation, a fascist military occupation in the West Bank. Hamas doesn't govern the West Bank. Look at what Israel has done in the West Bank since October 7th.
You can't condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th.
This is not about Hamas.
So if you've noticed, like I was saying before, Piers hasn't gone full circle on any of this, but he's certainly at least pushed back on half of this bullshit. He's just not capable of going full Monty on the situation. Shouldn't be shocking to anybody.
I condemn what will beget violence inevitably. I'm not going to sit here and condemn Hamas.
The entire war.
I'm sorry?
This entire war has been because of what Hamas did on October the 7th. You can go back in history.
Absolutely not.
You can go back in history
Piers.
and you can find arguments on both sides in the last 70 years. Right, I've had the arguments many times.
No, because
you cannot dispute
what you're doing. What you're doing is.
What am I doing?
What you're doing is conflating and pretending like there are two equal sides. Oh, they've just been fighting for decades. There's always reasons on both sides to start the violence. No, that's not true. There's one side that's an occupying, colonizing force that continuously and violently expels and subjugates and brutalizes and terrorizes the other side.
Yep.
They are living under the boot of Israeli authorities, whether you're in Gaza and occupied, completely military.
The thing is Piers Morgan is such like a knee-jerk colonialist. Like, we've talked about how much he loves the royals and all that stuff, but it's because he loves the old Britain that used to have colonies everywhere and lorded over everybody and made everybody, made decisions for other countries, and so like he struggles to kind of see things from a perspective of the suffering oftentimes, I feel.
By the outside, or whether you're living under a fascist military dictatorship in the West Bank.
So if you believe,
violence.
Okay,
that is the root of the violence. This is 75 years of ethnic cleansing and apartheid.
All right, I hear you. Let me ask you this: if you believe then that Hamas are a armed resistance, as you put it, and they have presumably then you believe what they did on October the 7th was justified, do you?
I didn't say that. No, absolutely
well,
not.
Wouldn't that be
I'm not sitting here justifying anything.
Isn't the logical extension of your argument, if you believe they're an armed resistance and they are doing what they're doing because they are responding to acts of terror by another side, surely you would say that what they did was justified. Or if it's not justified, what is it? You either condemn it or you think it's justified. I don't think you can sit in the middle, can you?
He's completely missing the point. And you absolutely... is not sitting in the middle to put perspective to the fact that every single person who is in Hamas is a Palestinian who's been under apartheid and has been oppressed illegally for years, decades in some cases.
I don't need to sit here and give a condemnation of Hamas. I can explain why Hamas exists. I don't have to support what they did. I don't have to justify or rationalize it.
Yes, so silence in the face of rape as a
person who studies history
is complicity.
You can sit as a person who studies history. Emily, you're doing the exact same thing and you're projecting it on me. Okay, so do you condemn the actions of Israel for killing 13,000 children?
I don't accept that 13,000 children have been killed. That hasn't anything that's been verified.
This is the problem.
But it depends on the context of what's happening. Do I condemn certain actions of the state of Israel?
Palestinians their reality.
Do I think Israel is always right?
You're denying Palestinians their reality. This is why Palestinians have to show their dead kids on camera.
Do I think every...
Piers Morgan doesn't have a heart. He only brings on base people like Abby for the Jerry Springer effect. Yeah, that's a fact.
Israel has done, even in this war, is correct. No. There's no.
But even in doing that, we still get to hear some very based things out of Abby Martin. So I'll take it, honestly, in this case, for sure.
Problem with saying that.
What has been wrong? What have they done?
I already said the same thing about Hamas. Hang on, Abby. I already said the same thing about Hamas.
Emily, tell me what Israel's done that's wrong in your eyes.
I think that that should have been a priority from the beginning in order to plan a safe evacuation route before they implemented a military.
I love her first shot at it is an ethnic cleansing. She describes an ethnic cleansing to a T. And Piers looks pissed off about this. Because he wanted her to say something like intelligent, and instead she basically just put on the table, you know what they didn't do? They didn't do the ethnic cleansing right. See, they started bombing first, and they should have ejected all the Palestinians from Gaza first. Remember, I think, what was it, the desert that they wanted to put them in? It's something stupid. It was something very stupid, if I recall correctly, the proposal to do that in the first place.
Plan. I think that everything has been done too late.
Okay, Abby, what would you say Hamas have done wrong?
Again, I'm not going to sit up here. I don't even know really what happened.
You can't
on
find
October
anything
7th in
To
terms
condemn rape.
You can't find anything to say they
all
did that
of
was
the
wrong?
lies that have been perpetrated. Look, Hamas killing civilians. I'm sure atrocities were committed on both sides on October 7th. I'm
on
sure
October 7th,
many
atrocities were
killed.
committed.
I don't know.
What
I don't know
did
how
Israel
many
commit on
civilians
October
were
7th?
killed by Israel. Emily, I can't even hear myself talk because you just can't stop talking.
Let Abby speak.
There's so many lies that were put out by Israeli authorities that it's really hard to parse through. Look, I mean, we don't know how many civilians were killed in the crossfire by Israeli soldiers enlisting the Hannibal Directive. So, look, the mass rape, the beheaded babies, the ripping the babies out of pregnant women's stomachs. I mean, all of these things are such egregious lies that I really just can't sit up here and condemn things that I don't even know what happened.
What
or
about
not.
the atrocities which Hamas recorded and filmed themselves and then posted to the world to brazenly boast about what they were doing? What about that?
Look, nothing that Hamas did on October 7th compares to what Israel has done in response.
No, I'm asking you a direct question about the fact that they boasted.
The thing where you can recognize emotions, I believe that's called empathy.
About the mass murder they were committing.
You guys just make it all about October 7th, and that's what I'm saying. It all pales in comparison, Piers,
But if you can't condemn anything Hamas has done,
that happened, I already said.
You haven't condemned them.
Killing civilians is wrong.
So what
Killing
they did,
civilians is wrong.
So what Hamas did on October 7th was wrong.
What does that make what Israel has done?
Hang on, I'm trying to unpick your argument. So if it's wrong to kill civilians, were Hamas wrong to do what they did on October the 7th, given how many civilians were brutally murdered?
Are you doing the same thing to Emily? And if not,
just asking,
why?
do you think it was wrong?
Why are you not sitting her?
Do you
and
think
picking
it was wrong?
If not, why? Based, once again, Abby. And this is where Piers really does start to lose it. Like, for the first half, I think he did a decent job of trying to moderate it, and then he really lost it when we got down to condemning Hamas. Oh, no. Why won't you condemn Hamas?
Given how many civilians were brutally murdered.
Are you doing the same thing to Emily? And if not,
just asking,
why?
do you think it was wrong?
Why are you not sitting her?
Do you
and
think it
picking
was
apart,
wrong?
Is it wrong to kill 13,000
Why
children?
can't you answer a
Is it
simple
wrong
question?
to kill
Actually, he did
100? I already said it.
Was
Piers.
it wrong?
I'm not going to sit here. You're basically comparing Hamas to Israel.
No, I'm not comparing
And
anything.
that's
You
really
said just
unfortunate.
now.
Yes.
He's definitely doing that.
Unless I'm mistaken, you just said to me that the killing of innocent civilians is wrong. I then asked you, fairly self-evidently, I think, the question, that in that case, given that Hamas showed us on tape them killing civilians, innocent civilians, on October the 7th, do you accept that was wrong? Yes or no?
You saw the tape?
Yeah, they showed us.
You saw the tape of them killing innocent civilians?
Yes, they literally broadcast it to the world. Yes, we all did.
And so do Israeli soldiers
Fine,
in a
why can't
depraved
you
fashion.
forget
It's
Israel
like
for a
watching,
moment?
It's like watching.
Forget Israel for a moment.
It's like watching Nazis.
If it's wrong to kill
during World
innocent
War
civilians,
II
Abby,
on social media.
If it's wrong to kill innocent civilians, I'll ask you one more time. You haven't got to answer, up to you. But viewers are watching this and they know you haven't answered. You think it's wrong to kill innocent
I already
civilians?
answered. I think.
He wants her to say a very specific statement, and it's pathetic. I don't understand why it is he needs this so badly. I think it's because he knows that it'll get him clicks, right? Oh, somebody new won't condemn Hamas. Oh boy, we better jump on the wagon.
I think it's wrong to kill innocent civilians.
So what Hamas did was wrong.
She's not going to answer.
Well, let her answer if she wants to. Last time, I'm going to ask it. So.
I don't. I already told you I'm not going to sit here and condemn what Hamas did.
Right.
I understand why. I don't have to agree with what Hamas did, right? To understand
that wasn't my question. I just asked you whether the mass murder perpetrated on October the 7th was wrong.
I don't want reality. Why there's blowback for horrific policies of apartheid and ethnic cleansing. There's obviously inevitably going to be
October the 7th was
blowback policies. Yes, absolutely, it was blowback.
Right, but was it wrong?
100%.
Was it wrong?
Let's remember that 2023 was one of the most violent and deadly years leading up to October 7th since 2006, I believe. No, was it 2014? I think it was 2014. But like for a decade, it was the most violent and deadly year for Palestinians. And I think we all know who it was that did the killings up to that point. And it's just interesting that both Piers and this woman want to ignore history. They want to ignore the context because it fits this very strange narrative. And this is why we need people like Scott Bakula, so that we can travel through time and be able to remind people that history didn't start on October 7th. It actually started way before that.
I'm not, look, I don't know how much you want to just go around the mulberry bush like this.
I think it's a fairly straightforward question. I don't see how anyone can come on a show like this.
What Israel is doing
how
is
can
wrong.
you take
Can
part
you
in a
ask
debate like
Emily
this and
that?
say
Is what Israel
killing
is
innocent
doing
civilians
to kill
is wrong?
13,000
But I'm not going to
civilians?
tell you what Hamas did on October the 7th was wrong. It makes no sense, Abby. No sense.
I'm not going to sit here and condemn Hamas. I'm not going to do the...
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you, Bad Lefty. He did say that verbatim. Can you blame me for forgetting the things that Piers says? I try not to log them in my brain, if I'm being perfectly honest. It hurts to try and remember those kinds of things.
Obligatory ritual.
I hear you.
Ritual that everyone is browbeaten into doing. I'm just not going to do it, Piers. I mean,
honestly,
what Israel is doing right now is committing genocide.
I think your denial that what they did was a heinous act of terrorism is actually in its way as bad. I'm about to finish my sentence.
I said atrocities were committed.
Yeah.
And I think
they weren't
atrocities are wrong and killing innocent civilians are wrong.
So Hamas were wrong to do it.
Again, you're browbeating me into trying to
I'm
say
just asking
Hamas
for a
was
straightforward
wrong.
answer.
This was a horrific terrorist attack. I already answered you.
I think your failure to say that Hamas did something wrong is terrible.
Oh, it's
I think
a failure.
Emily's failure to accept that
Oh, no.
12, 13,000 children have been killed is also terrible, right? I think that the denial going on both sides here, which I hear, is frankly appalling. It's
First of all, I'm
obvious.
not denying. I'm saying that we don't have the evidence yet of what...
Talk about woke moralists. I mean, he's over here moralizing two completely different things. A group of people who are fighting essentially some of the worst conditions on Earth. Certainly, Palestine before this, Gaza, if you will, had like a negligible GDP, right? Like they essentially, if I'm not mistaken, like they have a smaller GDP than a place like New Hampshire. You know, nothing against New Hampshire. And it's just, fucking hell. It's killing me to have to listen to this to some degree because, you know, these two just continue to push this nonsense narrative. Yeah, he's just going to continue to cherry pick. I know. But we're here for the Abby portion of this.
numbers are, and we
Well,
don't
how
know what the
many do you think
breakdown
it is then?
We don't know yet.
Well, we
but
do,
you also
because
have to remember the fact that what Israel is
as
targeting...
I said to you, Emily, the Palestinian Health Authority numbers historically have turned out to be proven to be pretty
Palestinian
accurate.
Authority, the Ministry of Health has been instructed
That's-
explicitly
that's
by
not my
Hamas not
point.
to report combatants.
That's not my
The
point.
numbers are not
That's not
accurate
my
and they
point.
cannot be
I've literally never heard that claim. I'm pretty sure she just made it up.
As I've just said to you, historically, if you go and check historically, the Palestinian Health Authority, run by Hamas, their numbers have turned out to be broadly accurate. That is why they are being treated now as reasonably accurate numbers. There can be no doubt from the footage we've seen from the hospitals of endless children, from the bomb sites, endless children being killed, that there are thousands of children being killed. To try and deny that, to try and...
I'm not denying that children are being killed. I'm not denying that
you
there
don't
have been
believe the
many
numbers.
casualties.
And you're
I'm
trying to
saying
avoid...
we don't know the numbers yet. Right. And we cannot state definitively, especially if the source is Hamas, that 13,000 children have been killed.
You have actually no idea that 9,000 Hamas terrorists have been killed.
According to IDF intelligence, yeah, we do.
So you believe...
So you believe IDF intelligence, who only, you know, investigates themselves with, what was it again? Transparency. Yeah, right. Didn't they just transparently bomb a aid truck and said it was an accident? And now they're going to investigate why they intentionally did that and tell us that it was just God or something equally nonsensical.
IDF intelligence, but you won't believe
a
the other
terrorist
side's numbers on
organization?
victims.
Absolutely. I would believe the IDF over a US and UK designated terrorist organization that has been proven to lie about this.
Even if other independent agencies who corroborated the Palestinian Health Authority numbers, you still won't believe them.
What independent agencies? The United Nations?
Yeah.
This is not independent, as has been proven by this war itself.
And other
Members of
aid
UNRWA
agencies.
are actually active terrorists. Some of them took part in the October 7th massacre.
Right, so here's my problem with this
There's
debate.
no evidence for
Here's
that.
my problem with the debate for both of you. There is a level of denial on both sides, which I think people in the middle who don't have a horse in the race, right, who are looking at this from afar, they're aghast at the level of self-denial. They cannot believe, Abby, that you're not prepared to say what Hamas did was wrong. And they cannot believe, Emily, that on your side, you simply won't accept the obvious fact
numbers
that
of Hamas?
thousands and thousands of children are
I
being...
didn't say that.
You won't...
Thousands of people are dying, but
How
we
many-
do not know the numbers. And no, I'm not going to accept the numbers from Hamas.
Right, so you don't have to then be accountable for the deaths of so many children.
I
Because you
disagree.
simply
I
say,
think Israel
I
should
don't
be
know what the number
accountable.
is, therefore I can't pass comment.
I don't agree with that. I think Israel needs to exercise as much caution as possible.
Should they kill fewer children?
If possible, of course.
If
Of course.
possible, if possible. What an interesting way to phrase that, if possible. You know, it's very possible. In fact, it's easier than killing children because you stop shooting and you stop bombing, you stop missiles and everything else that they're, you know, it's just, oh my God. I love how she acts as if the act of doing less is harder than the act of doing something.
Do you accept they've killed too many children?
How would you?
I don't think that. Yes, first of all, but I also
You do.
think.
Well, that's
But I also think
okay,
it's
look,
important to note
we are
that
getting
many
somewhere.
of these casualties
We're getting somewhere.
are a result of
That
being
is
used as human shields.
Actually, what you just said is an important admission.
Okay, hold on. Can we
hang
talk
on,
about the
Abby.
human
I'm going to
shield
come
thing
to
really
you.
quickly?
But that's
Damien
an
Pierce,
important
hurry
admission,
up.
actually, by Emily, that she thinks Israel has killed too many children. I think that is a healthy moment
Well, I don't
in
think
this
any
debate.
children should be killed.
Fine. You just said you think they're killing too many children. Don't
One
back-
is too many.
Fine, but it's not laughable, is it?
Hey, look who it is, Morbius Dragon. It's been a long time since I've seen your face in this chat, I feel like. Hope you're doing good.
Terrible.
Right. So I just think that until you can admit on both sides what's actually going on that we can all see with our own eyes, I think you don't get anywhere with this debate. Let me ask you this. We talk about genocide and we talk about how this all plays out at the end. How does this end, Abby? I mean, how do you actually get peace when we can't even have a debate without people screaming at each other? But we now know that a lot of Gaza has been leveled. I don't know if they can go back and live there, Gazans. I don't know how many more are going to get killed if Israel attacks the Rafah refugee camp in his efforts to finish off Hamas. I don't know these answers. What I do know is I find it very, very implausible that at the end of this, it simply all gets sorted out quite quickly and the Gazans go back to their destroyed homes, it all gets rebuilt, and they'll live happily ever after. So how does it end?
Right. I mean, well, no construction material has been allowed in for quite some time, so there is
Yeah,
no
no
rebuilding
kidding.
effort that's possible, especially when you've decimated the entire strip, demolished every aspect of civilian life, surgically striking doctors alongside their entire families, killing over 100 journalists, many in targeted assassinations alongside their entire families. I mean, really the best and brightest.
This woman's face is so condescending, and like I feel like the vibe she's trying to put off is that like she knows better than Abby, but then whenever she opens her mouth, she just says like incredibly stupid, not based in fact things.
In Palestinian society in Gaza has been destroyed. IDF soldiers posting on TikTok that they're just blowing up mosques because they're bored, looting and pillaging women's lingerie. I mean, it really is depraved levels of sadism going on here. How does it end? A negotiated settlement immediately. I think that what Hamas is offering is not beyond the pale. It would be easy for Israel to comply with the demands. If we look at the 5-day truce that happened several months back, the Palestinian hostages that Israel's been keeping, they're not called hostages, but they should be because they're just political prisoners that are languishing in military detention. The vast majority of those political prisoners were not charged with anything. 30 of them were kids for throwing stones. So this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. When Hamas says release our hostages, that's who they're talking about. When they say the removal of Israeli troops from Gaza, I don't see how that couldn't be complied with. I mean, look, there should be a negotiated settlement. If you want the hostages back today, that could happen. And that's why there's thousands of Israelis protesting in the street.
Well, Hamas have just rejected the latest peace deal offering.
Well, okay, is it a permanent ceasefire? Because if you're just talking about a 6 weeks...
No, it's not. Oh, for fuck's sake, Piers is such a nonsense person. He always has great points that mean absolutely nothing. Great interjection, Piers. Thanks for that.
Well, okay, is it a permanent ceasefire? Because if you're just talking about a 6-week ceasefire before, well then, yeah. I mean, Israel's saying they're just going to continue the genocide after 6 weeks. How is that
do you
something
think?
that's a concession
Let me ask you this
Israel?
before I go
Israel's
back to
won at the
before
end
I go back to
every
Emily.
single
Let me ask
time.
you this, Abby. Do you think Hamas should stay in power at the end of this?
Look, I'm whatever the Palestinians want. That's
Well, what do you
that's
think?
what they will do. I mean,
What do you
I
think?
think. Look, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Palestinians of who their leadership should be. What I will say is Hamas isn't actually the most popular faction in Palestinian society. And Hamas is only the result of Israeli policy of brutal apartheid.
You can see how frustrating it is for Piers for her to say that, because he wants to play the game of dictating, of telling Palestinians who should be their leadership, right? It goes back to his sort of knee-jerk colonialist attitude that it defers to the West, to hegemony essentially, and to this sort of thinking that got this whole thing started in the first place.
Cleansing and occupation. That's why Hamas exists. Any type of Palestinian leadership that has arisen is a direct result of Israeli brutality. So I'm not going to speak on behalf of Palestinians and say what should or should not happen or who they should and should not elect. But I will say that Hamas is a democratically elected leadership of the Gaza Strip. I understand that there will be
let me ask you one more
and
question.
that inevitably
should
violence
Netanyahu
will
remain?
happen
Should
if these
Netanyahu
policies maintain in place.
Should Netanyahu remain in power in Israel after this?
No.
Oh, hang on.
I think that the Israeli people have spoken about Netanyahu, but I think that Netanyahu is the tip of the iceberg. To blame this all on Netanyahu and his so-called right-wing government is to wash
should he
away
stay in power?
the foundation of what Israel is.
Should he stay in power after this?
No, he's committing genocide. No.
So you're prepared to say to the Israeli people, no,
well, here's
your
the thing.
leader should go.
Here's the thing.
But you're
the
not
Israeli
prepared to
people,
tell
the
Palestinian
Israeli people are out.
that their
the
leadership
Israeli,
should go.
But
You see
here's the thing.
Again, the inconsistency.
The Israeli people are out in the streets in the tens of thousands saying Netanyahu should go. It's
there
not
are many
because he's committing
Palestinians who want
genocide. They say
Hamas
that
to go
he's
too, I'm sure. The
That
point
he's
is,
corrupt.
Okay. Anyway. I don't think he lets her talk after this. I don't think she says, yeah, nope, he doesn't, because he's a piece of shit. Okay, then we're not going to listen to any more of this. Go fuck yourself, Piers Morgan. Much respect to Abby. Exactly, Mono. 100%. I know it was partially frustrating, but hopefully it was more fun than actually just staring into the genocide and everything else we've been doing today. Let's see here. Well, looks like we got through it together today, folks. It was a pleasure having you here. In fact, I would say it's integral for me to be able to even get through it. So, till I see you next time, you stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Can't forget this. Here are your galactic producers: Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W., the Anti-Corporatist, Vincent Morales, and Pitchforks Dragon. Don't forget those names, folks. Their contributions help me to continue the vital work of the Galactic News Network. You too can become a Galactic patron for just a few dollars a month. Galactic benefits will ensue.
Just like my wife's vagina.